I played 2 whole years of Stardew Valley as a fisher. Yes, you heard that correctly. I fished, and I fished a lot. I can't believe I just said that. Well, it was me in an alternate reality. Anyway, in this timeline, I was a very dedicated member of the Ferngill Republic Anti-Fishing Club, or the FRAFC for short. Fishing just sucks. Sat doing nothing, staring at that bobber, waiting for any sort of mental stimulation, until the inevitable jump scare of something grabbing onto your line. As someone with the reaction time of a sloth, who knows how many aquatic dwellers have had a free meal from the likes of me as they wiggle away mere milliseconds later. And don't even get me started on some of those species in there requiring some sort of superhuman focus to keep up with its movements. That's if you're lucky enough to find something living on the end of the line. I wasn't here for a day of trash cleanup. Very soggy, very gross, not very demure. Plus, who has time to fish when you're working for Joja Corporate anyway? The FRAFC hate everything to do with fishing, including fish themselves, even eating them. Trouble is, I'm British, and on a quiet summer evening, I just can't resist the allure of a good plate of fish and chips for dinner. I wasn't expecting to see anyone I knew here, but the founder of the FRAFC just so happened to be walking past and caught me in the act with my forbidden meal.
That smell, is that fish?
It's not what it looks like. Yes, it's fish. Okay, it's exactly what it looks like. But look, I just needed my yearly fish and chips, okay? It won't happen again.
You've been coming here yearly?
Traitor.
No fishing, no talking about fishing, no looking at fish, no eating fish, ever. You've broken our number 4 rule. As founder of the FRAFC, I banish you. We never want to see your face at the club again.
I don't need them. Screw it. You know what? I've got that farm waiting for me in Pelican Town from my grandpa. I'm finally doing it. I'm getting out of the city, and not only will I take over my grandpa's farm, I'm gonna make my entire life and personality about fishing. Just you wait. Okay, that's enough of that. Before we dive into our first day, I want to let you know that this is a modded playthrough and the list with all the links will be in the description. I really can't believe I'm doing this, but let's begin our first year on the Angler's Haven farm. New year, new me. I woke up on day 1 in my cozy new tiny house, and would you look at that, that's a fish smoker. Yes, of course we're playing on the Riverland farm, and here's me having to turn back on my auto run. Thank you very much, One Life Challenge. Anyway, I don't think I've clarified what I mean by playing Stardew as a fisher. I will be doing some of the other activities the valley has to offer too, but I'm only allowed to make my money from the items I can get from fishing activities, including the extra treasure as well. I will still need to sell a few other items, but this is really for the ship 1 of everything achievement, and also anything required by special requests and key quests as well. Plus, I'm gonna need to take part in all the other skills to get all the mastery crafting recipes, but obviously the fishing mastery is what I'm setting my sights on first. I definitely want to be in that cave by the end of the first year, though I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. I just wanted to explain that I won't just be sat doing nothing but fishing for the entire year. You might also notice that there's something a little bit off about this river farm. It's been left in disrepair a little bit too long, and I'm gonna have to rebuild all the bridges myself. I got the usual 15 parsnips in the ground and set up my first usual storage chest. Even Fisher Emma still needs space for loot. Then it was out into town to begin meeting all the neighbours and pick up my first seeds. I just got one of everything for now, just in case I need them for the community centre, and after a quick hello to most of the villagers, I could head on home to plant my seeds. Ah, right. No bridge. This was actually a good thing, because I missed introductions with more people than I thought, but I didn't make it home to plant stuff till the evening when I remembered that without a scarecrow, my extra seeds were at risk of becoming a snack for the local crows. I only have one of everything else, so I only planted the carrots I dug up for now, and chopped a couple of trees to start saving up for those bridges. On day 2, I got the letter we've all been waiting for. Pelican Town's main fisherman has just returned from his trip. I've got to go and meet him, but not before watering all my crops and chopping enough wood to make a chest to bring to the beach with me. I approached this cool looking fella at the end of the pier to say hi and ask how I can get involved with the local fishing scene as a brand new budding angler. To my surprise, he responded by passing down his old rod for me to use. My very own fishing rod. And will he also let me know that I can get more supplies from him or even sell my fish if I want. I wasn't waiting another second to try it out, and with a little tutoring, I successfully reeled in my first fish, a sardine. Better set up that chest for all the fish I'm gonna catch. I'm not very proficient with the bamboo pole though. It is very old and worn out too, so I thought it would be wise to pick up a training rod to get a slightly bigger fishing bar. I'd rather have an easier time leveling at first, even at the cost of not being able to catch better fish, and so I earned my first level by lunchtime. To my delight, I got my first treasure chest too, a piece of coal. We're going to be needing lots of this stuff throughout the year. I fished till I ran out of energy, and I really didn't want to eat any of my potential profits, so I made my way to Cindersat Forest to forage for some snacks. I munched a few for some extra energy when I got home and rounded off the day by chopping more wood. I took advantage of the rain by doing some more of that the morning of day 3. You might notice I'm still leaving stumps. I was unaware at this point that stumps no longer spread tree seeds, but to be fair, the energy used versus foraging XP was another reason I'd probably have left them for now anyway. I didn't do this for long though, gotta get back to that fishing. I opted for the ocean here because I wanted to try and brave the bamboo pole for the option of extra cash, but I didn't want to waste my energy on repeatedly failing to catch the catfish. What I wasn't anticipating is how difficult it would be with the littler fishing bar, especially considering the extra fish in these waters than what we would usually have. I've added the Fish of Stardew mod, which adds 24 extra fish for us to catch, along with some other fun stuff we'll see later. As soon as I hit level 2 fishing, I headed into the shop to sell off some of my catches, but clearly we're a long way off that fiberglass rod, so I better keep at it. I left by the early evening, realising I could be boosting my profits by smoking some of the fish. This literally doubles it, and I also wanted to chop down more wood to get some of the main bridges fixed for an easier time getting around. Our first bigger fish sell-off resulted in an extra grand, then on day 4 I could pluck my first carrots from the ground, all of which I'll keep for now. I also won't mention watering crops from now on. I do this every day, it doesn't need mentioning. Back to the beach I went for this day, with my fish smoker this time. Hopefully I'll fish up more coal, but at least now I have the option to use it. What I didn't think about was the fact that Willy only buys raw fish, so I had to bear this in mind whilst trying to save for the fiberglass rod, and shortly after reaching level 3 fishing, I caught enough to afford the upgrade and a few extra bait. Since I can't sell my smoked fish to Willy, I brought everything home, plus I didn't want to spend the extra wood on a second chest I was in desperate need of to store a lot of my fish. Being on the Riverland farm, I can catch a good variety from the comfort of my home anyway, and without a consistent supply of coal, I was being very selective as to which fish qualified for the smoker. I didn't see the point with the lower value ones, especially as we get access to even better fish as time goes on. Completely forgot that I'd actually smoked a bluegill here. We're going to be catching an absurd amount of these, and they're not worth very much at all. I was excited to see the unlock of the crab pots when I slept that night. An option for a bit of fishing without actually fishing will be very welcome when I get the funds or materials for it, and for this day of angling I profited over 1200 gold. If that seems low, that's because I've been saving a good portion of fish. You'll see why later. Clint was on my doorstep on day 5. I promptly asked him to go away, but then I found Marnie right behind him with a new furry friend. Cats love fish, and maybe they might help me bring some more fish. This farm is now also home to Captain the Cat. My parsnips were ready, and there were enough of them here to reach level 1 farming. In the empty space went those seeds we bought on day 1, but instead of more fishing, I took a break today to begin progress in the mines with those parsnips in my pocket for food, since I won't be selling most of them. Despite the luck not being on my side, I found a very handy little glow ring and reached floor 10 that afternoon. The femur here is a perfect replacement for my rusty sword. I called it there for my mining adventure, leaving behind a furnace for later use, then brought my first artifacts to the museum so I could claim the extra gold, and the rest of it that I forgot from the morning. After that, I wanted to turn in for the night, but first I wanted to utilise every last bit of remaining energy, of course by reeling in a few more fish. Here are all the level ups from this productive day. Yep, level 4 fishing in there as well. That farming level was particularly important because it meant I could craft a scarecrow on day 6. I won't be growing all that many crops compared to usual, so every single one is just a little bit more precious. I told Lewis I didn't have time to listen to him complain about this old building he allowed to get so run down, but I still checked the place out for myself real quick. My next stop was Pierre's, not for more seeds, but to buy a bigger backpack to cram more fish into. Then I took my place on the pier to fish the day away and caught enough anchovies to sort the overpopulation problem. That's another thing. For the bulletin board requests, I've added a mod called the Fish Dimension to make it so I can only get fishing ones. This does, however, mean that they appear a little bit less often. I got a letter on day 7 from the wizard summoning me to his abode on this dreary day. I took the long route there through the forest because by this point, the only piece of spring forage I was missing was the dandelion, which I thankfully found along the way. I stepped into that wizard tower, but something was different. The wizard was different. I've also added the Looking for Love mod to make some of the villagers dateable if they otherwise wouldn't be. Along with this comes some younger looking sprite and portrait options. I was so distracted by this that I ended up skipping the cutscene because it suddenly dawned on me that I didn't want all the dateable options this mod has to offer. Making this number of extra NPCs dateable reduces the number of hearts needed for perfection by quite a considerable amount, so obviously I had to fix that. The only extra person I'm interested in dating is Willy. Come on, it's a fishing farm, we have to. And I also changed most of the sprites back to their vanilla version, though I may change my mind later on. I did then browse the travelling cart on my way past, but it was at this moment I decided I wanted to ban buying anything from here. I want to have to get all the items the normal way by myself. The only exception to this rule is of course the rare seed, since I don't have another way to get them. Lewis got a daffodil for his birthday, basically the spare item of forage that isn't needed for the community centre. Speaking of which, that was my next stop, donating everything needed for the spring foraging bundle. I've chosen remix bundles this time, and I was pretty upset here because the brewer's bundle is going to take me quite a while, but looking at the fish tank, the bundles here are looking pretty ordinary. Simple enough. I needed to take a trip to the beach to top up on bait, but when I got to Willy's store, it appeared to be empty, and yet somehow he was still able to sell me stuff. Is he hiding under the counter or something? How strange. This does get fixed, don't worry. I fished at the town river into the late hours, and as a result, I hit level 5. Obviously I picked the fisher profession here, and that's why I've been saving the majority of my fish recently, waiting for that 25% increase. I shipped off a good portion of them on day 8. Some I'm still saving to chuck into the smoker first. Having run out of trees in the part of the farm I could reach, I chopped every single one by the mountain lake, but I still didn't get enough wood to fix another farm bridge. This also gave me some encouragement to plant even just a few of the forage seeds from the community centre to keep working on that foraging level. Not too many though, because that's more watering than I'm willing to do. I can always plant the rest later. I was still desperate for more wood, so I deforested as much of the forest as I could on this day, but rather than taking it back to the farm, I fixed up the bridge at the beach to access the extra forage here. Whilst I haven't fished this stuff up, it has washed up from the sea, and some of these things would have been in crab pots anyway. All that wood chopping got me to level 3 foraging, and selling those saved up fish gained me another 3 grand. Day 9 I bought a variety of goodies to the community centre to get them checked off. Even if they weren't enough to complete any bundles, it still got the extras out of my chest. I did have enough museum donations for some rewards though, a flute block and the cauliflower seeds. I only grabbed the seeds for now. I didn't know till recently that I could just leave the unwanted stuff behind and come back at a later date to claim the extra items, if at all. I took advantage of the decent luck this day and worked on progressing down the mines where I reached floor 20 that evening and collected another glow ring, but instead of pushing on further, I just smelted loads of copper and made a last minute decision to plant those cauliflowers with some extra seeds before bed. On day 10 I got an interesting letter from Willy about his old friend Murphy looking for some extra help on his fishing trawler. He'll be in town every Wednesday and he'll hang out on the east docks during the daytime. I fished on one of the town bridges on my way down to the docks to catch the catfish for the community centre. I greeted Murphy outside his boat and got the lowdown on how things are going to work aboard the Dawn Shard. The fishing trawler mod adds a fun and chaotic minigame for us to have a go at each week, the reward being the fish that the boat catches that day. It's not exactly in tip-top condition though. Nope, it's pretty much falling to pieces, and it's up to little old me to try and hold the thing together. If the nets rip, we start losing fish. You only need to click on the brakes to fix them, but I left my brain cells at home and couldn't figure out picking the correct tile. In the meantime, we had some holes letting in some water below deck. Again, you just click them to fix them, but like I said, brain cells left at home, though I was pretty slow. I've only got a little bucket to empty the water which needs to be done at the top deck. And I need to keep the engine fueled too. I eventually did figure out how to fix the nets, but I was so frazzled amongst the chaos that it wasn't long before we took on so much water that Murphy had to return my incompetent butt back to shore before it sinks. Not that there even was anything in the nets, but if this happens, we do lose the entire catch as Murphy needs to dump it off to save the boat, and our lives. I begged for another chance. I'll have to try again next week it seems. At least I wasn't completely fired. I fished from the safety of the pier instead. These spotted rays, by the way, pretty decent money makers for me at this stage, and since I had the funds, I purchased a single crab pot from Willy, knowing that it may be a while till I get enough iron to make them myself. I left the beach once I caught 2 eels and ran out of energy. One of the eels is for Emily's request, and the other got donated to the nightfish bundle in the community centre, along with a catfish for the river fish. The crab pot I bought got set up at home, the idea being that I can use the catches to complete the community centre bundle to get more as a reward, all for the price of 1. Day 11 was to be a lake fishing day, starting off strong with another level up, and finding some iridium ore in a chest. I actually pulled up a lot of bonus loot this day. At least I think I did, because I paused my recording to deal with some laundry or something, and forgot to start recording again. Not only did we skip the rest of this day, but we have no record for days 12 and 13 either. We're back again sometime into day 14. So yeah, you missed out on my incredible egg hunt victory, as evidenced by my straw hat here. I did leave a note for myself just in case I forgot what happened, which I definitely did forget. So here, I won the egg hunt, forgot the strawberries, and going back to the 12th, I chopped more wood and repaired bridges. And there, you're all caught up. Back to the present, day 14. I opted for some more mines progress. I'm gonna need loads of iron, so it was in my best interest to push on to floor 40. I absolutely won't be using the basic slingshot though. I also got my hands on an ancient seed as well. I won't be growing masses of them, so not quite so important, but I do need one of the fruit for the community centre. Judging by the new crab pots on the farm here on day 15, I must have also completed the crab pot bundle in those forgotten days. But anyway, I harvested this batch of forage and replanted with the remaining half of those seeds. It was then off to the community centre with a backpack full of donations to complete the spring crops bundle in exchange for some speed grow. That opened up the bulletin board, and to my horror, we've got to do the home cooks bundle. Though, to be fair, I will still need to build a barn and a coop to get all the animal products for shipping and ingredients anyway, since I won't be buying them from the travelling cart. The rest of the bundles could have been worse. The boiler room was already open from completing the crab pot, and I didn't have the stuff to fully complete any of the bundles, but I could get them all pretty close. After handing in my pickaxe for upgrade, I made more museum drop-offs so I could collect more free seeds as a reward. It's about time I go fishing again, but before I do, I want to bring Willy a coffee. I was really hoping to catch a few of these black clownfish because Willy was after 3 of them for an aquarium. They seem to be quite rare though, so I only caught 1 of these all day. I got level 7 fishing from my afternoon at the beach, and then on day 16, I dropped some wood off at the community centre before bringing a chub to Demetrius who had a prize ticket for me. My chosen fishing spot for this afternoon was the mountain lake where I caught 26 fish. I also got another ancient seed, but I'm saving this to plant next year. I collected my pickaxe from Clint the next day, then I made haste to Murphy's boat, ready to redeem myself following last week's disastrous trip. I will say, I did turn down a couple of settings, because for some reason it basically had it set for something to break every second. This might be alright in co-op, but I'm handling these tasks solo, so it needs a little bit of adjusting to make it doable. And as you can see, even then it's still pretty chaotic. We managed to make it through the whole excursion in one piece this time with 98 fish. You even get some fishing XP for this too, and even though 98 is a lot of fish, you have no idea which ones they'll be, and they'll all be basic quality. They also don't count towards the fishing collection either, but I did come out with the pufferfish I needed for the community centre, so that is a huge plus. I ended up selling a portion of my fish straight to Willy so I could afford the iridium rod with a top up of bait. I fished enough to fill any empty backpack space, then dropped it all home to do a foraging loop of Cindersat Forest. Looks like I made the right choice, because I completely forgot about the pot of gold that appears on this day, until I just so happened to pass it, and obviously I put the leprechaun hat straight on. The farmy feel of the straw hat just isn't my vibe for this timeline. Pam got a parsnip for her birthday on day 18. Never seen this dialogue before. I guess it makes sense that we also actually have to say happy birthday too for the extra datables. I like it. I mined this day away looking for iron and to progress down the floors. I passed floor 50 for some better boots and made my exit on floor 56 at midnight. Looking at all these ores and stuff, it's been a pretty successful day. I hit level 3 mining and level 2 combat along the way too. Day 19, I rescued a pirate's hat that somehow got stuck in a tree on my farm. This clearly was meant to be mine. I think it brought me luck because this day was a very looty lake fishing day. I got quite a bit of stuff, but I really should have gone to place these crab pots earlier with them taking up a whole backpack slot, though I still fished plenty and moved up to level 8 fishing. I also added 1800 gold to my balance despite only selling off my lower value fish. On day 20, I donated a gold bar I smelted from hanging out near the mines yesterday. This unlocked the vault bundles, but I won't be spending my gold here right now. I took care of Sam's halibut request, always working towards the next prize ticket, then made another handful of donations to the museum and earned a new reward, a starfruit seed, which I might actually need for the dye bundle. It was back to fishing once again, this time with my smoker nearby to process all those pufferfish while I'm still out here. With help from a bubble spot, I entered my fishing day with another 23 fish and quite a bit of treasure, but most importantly, there was a fire quartz in there for the geologist bundle. Thank you for the Omni Geodes. I couldn't turn in for the night without buying Shane a birthday beer, and of course Willy gets a beer too. Those were more than paid for by our fishing efforts today. That's another 6,000 gold. Demetrius greeted me on day 21 to set up the new farm cave. I went with bats this time to avoid having to buy all the fruit saplings, and I'll be able to get mushrooms myself over time anyway. With the cauliflowers finally ready for harvest, I reached level 2 farming. This farming level progress is gonna suck when crops aren't my main focus. It didn't help that I forgot the strawberries last week either. I hadn't even claimed the prize ticket for a while because these rewards here are all farming related. The mystery boxes will give me the motivation though. I planted those carrot seeds in the freed up spaces, then restocked my bait at Willie's shop so I could fish some more by the beach with my smokers by my side again. I also fished up the Jewels of the Sea book, which I read immediately for a chance to get fish roe in fishing treasure chests. I'll take bonus loot in any capacity. I left towards the evening to let Demetrius know I'd handled the out of control anchovies again, then returned to the farm to craft a bait maker and finally destroy the tree stumps now that I found out they're useless to keep around. I needed a bit of wood to craft a recycling machine anyway, so now I can begin processing the trash into profitable materials. Along with some of the fish I sold, I tickled quite a few things off the- Along with some of the fish I sold, I ticked quite a few things off the shopping list and gained another 4.5 grand. Day 22 I picked the remaining forage that grew in, then handed my axe to Clint to make it suitable to chop hardwood, a key material to make the fish smokers using the recipe I then bought from Willie. I fished right outside till I hit level 9, then sorted through my stockpile of fish at home. I sold off a portion to get the money back from this day's spending, though this really just paid for most of the axe upgrade. I took a rainy walk down to the beach on day 23 with a few black clownfish bait. I was hoping this would help with Willie's quest because they seem to be a pretty rare fish, but I didn't realise till I got there that this is a sunny weather fish, so I can't work on that today. I can't remember why, but I bought some oil from Pierre, and you might notice for this day that I have a new mod installed. This is the Fishing Info Overlays mod, and at some point soon I will be changing the settings for this to only work with the sonar bobber because I feel like just having this info for that bobber makes a lot of sense. Being a rainy day in the last week of the season, I ran back to Willie to pick up some trout soup. I think the oil from Pierre I must have bought to make hash browns for the dish of the sea, but I didn't have the potatoes I needed. The extra level from the trout soup means I'm now able to attempt catching the legend, though I was skeptical as to whether I'd truly be able to do this, since I'd usually only manage when I'm actually level 10 fishing, and then adding seafoam pudding for an extra 4 levels. It took several hours to even hook the thing, but it seems that all that angling practice had really paid off because I reeled it in on my first try. As exciting as this was, all I could think about was the ruby I fished up that evening, because this was the last piece needed for the treasure hunter bundle, the final item to complete the boiler room. The minecarts are just such a huge time saver, which means more time for fishing. It was carrots galore on day 24. Well, it's only 12, but it was still most of the crops that were ready in this very modest veggie garden, and I had 6 more carrot seeds to go in their place. It was the flower dance this day where I bought the tub of flower recipe, but I couldn't afford the rarecrow, so hopefully I'll remember next year. I talked to all the villagers, then asked Willie if he'd like to dance with me.
No, Skipper. This body is for fishing, not for dancing.
Well, guess it's time for the tradition of having to awkwardly watch, alone, in silence. Day 25 I was down in the mines, not only to get through more of the floors, but because I'd run out of coal for smelting, and smoking. I passed floor 60, finding a crystal dagger in the chest, which isn't exactly an improvement to the femur, and then on floor 70, I just had the usual master slingshot, which I will actually need for later. The femur was starting to feel a bit weak in these later floors, so I checked the Adventurers Guild to find that I couldn't actually afford any of the weapons that would have been enough extra power to have been worth it, so I'll have to carry on struggling through for now. Day 26 I just hung out on the farm for the morning to catch fish and smoke them, but then remembered I should probably check the request board if I want to work towards more tickets. Pierre was after a bream, and I wanted to see him anyway since it is his birthday, so I brought him a carrot along with that bream for a boost in friendship, and of course a prize ticket. I don't particularly need this orange sapling, but it's a step closer to the mystery boxes, and the star drop tea will be handy too. My axe was also ready to free from Clint's, and I put it straight to work chopping the hardwood stumps on the farm whilst just generally tidying it up while I was at it. Once I was satisfied with my cleanup efforts, I rewarded myself with some fishing for the evening to utilise the leftover energy, but at this point I've been saving my smoked fish for later, because once I reach level 10 fishing, their value will increase even more. That prize ticket today was my second one, so it's time for Mr. Key to commit mass fly tipping, dumping boxes for us to find all over the valley. Kinda rude of him, but I'm just excited for all the freebies we're about to get. On day 27, the little veggie garden pushed us into level 3 farming. Then after a quick museum drop off from the fishing loot, I ran down to the beach ready for some more fishing and dug up a prismarine ring along the way. This is supposed to give a little fishing buff, but it's quite buggy and it doesn't always work. I didn't know that it was buggy yet though, so I will just be keeping it on. And to be honest, I forget I even have it most of the time. I put that clownfish bait to use, but I only had 5 of them, 4 of which didn't hook that fish, and the one time it did, I lost it. So basically I wasted a perfectly good clownfish. I'm just gonna have to wait until I can catch more naturally, I think, but that won't be for quite some time. I had a quick break to pop by the saloon with Emily's birthday gift, and to pick up a fresh cup of coffee for Willy, but amongst the day's fish, I did manage to at least come away with one replacement black clownfish. I also got level 5 foraging from the beach forage I grabbed, so I chose Forester, knowing that I'm going to need a bunch of wood for things like crab pots. On day 28, I fished at the lake for a change. It's a good thing I've got this chest here. I'm pretty much desperate for that next backpack upgrade now. I've not been making much money recently because I've started saving my fish for level 10, but I have been selling off small amounts just to give me more income than none. I began this new season by planting some of the seeds I'd stocked up, including trying to take advantage of the free mixed seeds so I don't have to buy as many for the community centre. That was the original plan, but then I realised I'll still need some crops for the ingredients, and I really need to push on with the farming level if I want any hope of getting myself into the Mastery Cave this year, so I did pick up quite the variety at Pierre's. What I cannot tell you though, is why I haven't yet made a single sprinkler. I've got to water these every day. Why did I do this to myself? That being said, I walked away from the farm this day forgetting to water any of them at all. I was too busy thinking about my day ahead in the mines. I reached level 4 in that skill, and I got to floor 80 where I got a well overdue weapon upgrade of the Templar's blade. I fished in the town river for day 30. I was aware I'd not really spent much time with these waters. I just find the fish over here kind of boring, especially since I can catch most of these at home, but I did really need to catch the rainbow trout here as part of the collection, but also Alex was requesting one. His reward paid for most of an ice cream that I bought from him shortly after, but before running that to the community centre, I wanted to try catching a few more new fish from Cindersap Forest. I had to leave because my backpack kept getting full, the perfect time to drop off a couple of items to the Junimos. I then resumed fishing on the farm this time, to be close to my storage, right until I hit my goal of level 10 fishing. I wasn't even shook by the earthquake because I was too busy dreaming of the future riches thanks to choosing the angler profession. That meant I was ready to pull all my smoked fish, including the legend, and throw them all into the shipping bin. Now we should be getting somewhere. I chopped enough farm wood to fix one of the south bridges to allow me access to Cindersap Forest, then got a bunch of forageables donated to the crafts room thanks to the bats in the farm cave. I also had the remaining materials to complete the construction bundle, rewarding me with a charcoal kiln. I then brought a pomegranate to the enchanter's bundle and spent most of my gold on the smallest vault bundle, knowing I'd be earning more money overnight anyway. I'm not too bothered about these chocolate cakes, I suppose they'll make good gifts. With a little energy left, I fished on the farm for the evening, and from all those saved up smoked fish, we made over 40,000 gold that night. I popped out for some wood on day 32 and found a grape nearby. This will be the last thing I need for the summer foraging bundle. My first major spend from those profits went on maxing out my backpack, a huge relief. The lack of space was becoming a right pain, and now I can carry even more fish, and loot. I then reeled up a sunfish from the town river to hand over to Jodie for her request. My next stop was Willie's to shop for some supplies, and I decided to buy the rainbow trout bait today in prep for the Trout Derby later this season, but of course I was mainly here for more regular bait. I headed out to the East Pier to aim for the crimson fish today, and it was at this point I realised I'd forgot about the fishing trawler for the past couple of weeks. Well, one of those was the flower dance, but I don't have any excuse for yesterday. I'm going to stay in this spot for the rest of the day, but it wasn't too long before I got my hands on that crimson fish, along with a few other new catches for the season. That's the backpack cost pretty much covered that night. Then on day 33, I asked Robin to build the first of many fish ponds so I can start multiplying fish and collecting more roe. With gold bars being the next resource I was short on, I felt the need to mine for the rest of this day, reaching a new depth of floor 95 by nighttime. I opened all of my geodes on day 34 for quite a big progress burst in the museum. 18 more donations earn me loads of new rewards, but I'll only be taking the seeds and the rare crow. I allowed myself to sell off the spare minerals and artifacts because a good portion of the geodes I've accumulated from fishing, and it's not like I'm focusing on gaining enough geodes from the mines for it to make that much difference to my bank balance anyway. I fished at the town river for most of the day, but moved on to the beach for a while hoping for some more super cucumbers. On day 35, I gave Willie a spare copy of Jaws of the Sea that I fished up, then took my place on the pier for the morning. I caught the fish I needed to complete the ocean fish bundle by lunchtime, but it seems I left my tuna at home. I will go get it, but first I completed a couple more vault bundles, leaving just the 10 grand one to go. In that crystallarium went a jade. Even though I won't be going to Skull Caverns quite as much as a normal playthrough, I will still need to go sometimes to take out the monsters and get crafting materials. It was then back to the community centre with that tuna to complete the ocean bundle so I could claim those 5 beach totems which I'll certainly make good use of. I also completed the summer foraging bundle, but that's whatever. Then I rounded off the day by adding a black clownfish to the pond to breed them for Willie's quest, and then it was just some farm fishing. The next few summer crops were harvestable the following morning. I've now started accumulating quite a bit for the community centre, but I'll be donating these another time. Gus got a diamond for his birthday on my way down to Willie's shop to sell off some of the excess crab pot fish. I didn't want to wait another single day to buy the last vault bundle, so the bus can be repaired. From there, it was up to the mountain lake because I've somehow been a whole week in summer without having caught a sturgeon, and so today, I didn't catch it either. There'll always be other days. The Junimos worked their magic on the bus overnight, then on day 37, I got around to making my first worm bin. I forgot I left it this long, but I think I wanted a decent supply of gold bars first. Speaking of forgetting, I can't remember when I handed in my pickaxe to Clint either, but it's ready for me now, so there's that. My fishing spot for this day wasn't too far from there because I needed to catch 5 sunfish. Who would I be to turn down a challenge from Willie of all people, especially when he's offering a prize ticket? These mixed flower seeds should mean I don't actually have to buy any of them for next season, but more exciting prizes are on the horizon. Not much else to report for this day really, besides catching the ghostfish and the stonefish from floor 20 of the mines. My summer flowers had bloomed on day 38, the last ones needed to complete the garden bundle. That sprinkler? A very welcome sight. Less watering means more fishing. I made a brief visit tomorrow to give a birthday gift of a cauliflower before heading down to Murphy's boat, raring to go for my first trawler trip in a few weeks. Even though I'm still sort of struggling, I was beginning to find my flow a little more this time, and we successfully made it back to shore with 89 fish. And an ancient flag? What is that? I showed it to Murphy, who was able to identify it for me. This is one of several flags that used to be flown by pirates and sailors of the past, and apparently they come with some special effects. There are multiple flags to find, and I can ask Murphy to add them to the Dawn chart if I want. This one in particular is the Mermaid's Blessing, which has a 10% chance of consuming a fish in exchange for some other fun loot. Perfect for me! I'll have to remember to bring this next week. I took my first trip to the desert to pick up the forage there and introduce myself to Sandy, then returned to the farm to ship off most of the big fishing haul and add some more storage with my chest now getting full. Almost another 10 grand rolled in from the fish sold today, not bad. Day 39 began with a farm cave clear out, followed by a day out at the beach for the luau. I made my presence known to everyone, then dropped in a gold star super cucumber to the pot. Yes, I did get close to accidentally adding a sweet pea. The super cucumber soup was so good that the governor literally jumped for joy. A man with great taste. I made my way further into the mines for day 40, and passed floor 100 for my first star drop. Now what does the taste of this one remind me of? Not fishing? The loathing of fishing clearly still somewhere deep down within me. I could have done without the infested floor 103, but it was worth pushing through that pain for an extra weapon upgrade in a crate a little later. It was a steel falcon with some extra crit power, and I made it to floor 110 to get a worse steel falcon. It doesn't have the extra crit power. Great. Anyway, even more annoying, I had to leave on floor 117 because I really didn't want to lose another grand passing out down here, but at least I now know I'm near the bottom of the mines. It's just painful having access to the desert and still being locked out of Skull Caverns, even if I can't make as much use of it for the fishing life. There were a few crops to harvest on a rainy day 41, some of which are needed for the community centre. I grabbed a soaking wet sweet pea from the ground to give to Alex for his birthday. Hopefully he appreciates the bonus hydration. I then commissioned a second fish pond from Robin, before fishing in the desert's pond for the sandfish and the scorpion carp. I only need the sandfish for the community centre, but it's nice to tick them both off the list. I wasn't done fishing yet though. I moved over to the pier where I hung out into the nighttime. The most important of day 42's crops were the melons, even if one did get zapped by lightning, but they did also give me another farming level. That's not the only reason I was happy to harvest them though. I brought one to the community centre and finalised the summer crops bundle for a very much needed quality sprinkler, which I wasted no time in adding to the farm. I spent some money and metal on an axe upgrade from Clint, then got Pam to drive me to the desert to make my first trades, mainly for the handful of staircases since it's a Sunday. Sandy got a visit with a gift whilst I was there, because I also wanted to grab a few last minute starfruit seeds, and I mean a few, literally 3. Back in the valley, I fished at the mountain lake and finally caught a sturgeon, only leaving the area once they'd gone to sleep for the day to add one to the community centre. I claimed my dress spinner and headed to bed, making another few grand. With the next fish pond done building on day 43, I could make it home to a super cucumber. I also picked my first ancient fruit, which allowed me to complete the rare crops bundle that morning, and the reward preserve jar was a very pleasant surprise. Whilst tidying the beach forage, I took advantage of a bubble spot that appeared there for a while, and the first fish I reeled in for the day came with a bonus dinosaur egg. I'll be saving this to incubate in case I don't find another 2 later. I left the beach when the bubble spot vanished, because I really wanted to try for more first catches from Cindersap Forest to add to the collection, but sadly, by the time I wanted to leave that evening, I didn't find anything new. On the bright side, I could come home and begin producing aged fish roe, and I did get quite a few fish, but most of the better ones I'll keep until I have the coal to smoke them all. I added more to those stockpiles even more that night by fishing on the farm, but I did still ship a few cheaper fish and smoked fish that night with a few other bits. Day 44 had the next little crop harvest, then I fished outside Clint's until he opened so I could collect my steel axe. I was more than ready to gain access to the secret woods, because waiting for me in there was a wood skip. Rather than go donate it right away, I hung around Cindersap to remove it of its trees, and hit level 6 foraging out there. I used some of that wood to fix up more farm bridges so I could begin tidying this abandoned island, then took myself up to the train station to clear any wood from the north of the map. My first stop for day 45 was the community centre to donate that wood skip and complete the speciality fish bundle, which rewarded me with some Dish of the Sea. Robin's was next. I needed to ask her for a coop. Whilst I won't be making any money from the animal products, I'm still gonna need eggs for various things like shipping, artisan goods, and cooking. And over time, animals are another way to chip away at the farming XP. I do have the cook's bundle too, so we're gonna need a barn eventually as well. I wanted to give Sam a birthday gift on my way down to see Murphy, but I'm still locked out of his room. Hopefully the cactus fruit will hold up okay during this week's fishing expedition. I brought the flag with me to display on the boat, ready for a chaotic rainy adventure, and this week we headed back to town with a whopping 131 fish. Because of the flag, I didn't actually get this many, as some of the fish were replaced by random loot. Even better. Sam was out of his room by then for me to hand over his birthday gift. Then it was back home for me to sell most of the day's catches, but more importantly, I needed to collect a gold bar to give to Willie as a gift. The rest of this evening was spent in the mine, not only to gather more gold ore to supply Willie with gifts, but also to reach that bottom floor and collect the skull key. Day 46 was this year's green rainy day. Before I do literally anything, I gotta take care of the mess of weeds before they consume the farm, but the real reason this weather is one of my favourite additions to 1.6 is the abundance of fiddlehead ferns via these trees. I know I've upgraded my axe and gotten into the secret woods, but this now means you don't actually have to rush to do this for the community centre. While searching through town for more of those trees, I came across some cookies in the trash. Then I wanted to check in on Willie at the saloon. I was hoping another gold bar might help, but nobody takes gifts today because they're so freaked out by the weather. Now that I know Willie was safe in the saloon, I could bring those fiddleheads to the community centre to complete the wild medicine bundle. Am I going to use these 2 cookout kits? Probably not, but that's another bundle off the list. And that wasn't the only one. Those cookies went into completing the children's bundle. Being just a yearly phenomenon, I took advantage of most of what the valley had to offer during the green rain, mainly the fibre and the moss, because I combed through the forest and cut down every last weed I could find, and came home with over 200 moss. A portion of that moss went into making a few deluxe worm bins the next day. It's about time I upgraded my daily bait supply. Willie could accept his second weekly gift now that the weather had cleared up, then I also bought a bit of extra deluxe bait to keep me going for a while. I used it to fish in the forest, catching another new discovery, the radioactive sunfish. These are a super valuable fish. A pain to catch, but I need more. I caught my first armoured catfish too, then took a quick break to buy an ice cream from Alex because today is Demetrius's birthday and I didn't have any other love gifts at home. Back on the farm, I emptied my super cucumber pond, which exhausted me, but now it's home to the radioactive sunfish, which hopefully will be worth it over time. And it meant that Pam could have one of the super cucumbers for her request. To prevent the overnight energy penalty from the exhaustion, I chopped some trees before bed to increase my foraging level. The coop was finished on day 48, so I immediately called Robin back to work on the farm, on a barn this time. I was planning to fish at the mountain lake for the day, but my first fish of the day was a rainbow trout which came with a golden tag. I'd forgotten about the Trout Derby. Before heading over to the forest, I handed my pickaxe to Clint for its gold upgrade. Then I took my place just outside the price stand, armed with my bait maker to catch as many golden tags as I could. With a total of 14 tags collected over the course of the day, here are all the prizes I came away with, except for the last 2 tags which I ran out of room for, so I'll save these for tomorrow. My favourite of the day's rewards though had to be the bucket hat. I love a good bucket hat. For day 49, I wanted to know if I could hunt tags on the farm so I would have easy access to my storage to make room before I collect the prizes, but after several tagless catches, I gave up on that idea, ran briefly out to the desert to do the Sunday trades, grabbed a rare seed from the travelling cart in prep for fall, then returned to my fishing spot from yesterday. Fishing with absolute laser focus, I gained another 12 tags by nighttime. I'll skip all the prize sharing now though, it's just more of the same stuff that we got yesterday, but in particular, I enjoyed the free crab pots and free sprinklers. On day 50, I fed some bait to the black clownfish before giving Captain a hat to match with me. I retrieved my gold pickaxe from Clint, then asked him to open all of my geodes and mystery boxes, though other than the museum stuff from the geodes, the loot was quite mediocre. I did earn a couple of new rewards from the museum, but being furniture things, they'll remain with the rest of the unclaimed collection. There are a few extra trees around the valley as a result of the green rain, so I chopped those down, along with all the usual trees of course. Can't have them feeling left out. I wanted that wood for preserves jars, but I forgot they also need stone, so I couldn't make many. Since I need more stone for those, and a bunch of other things, I thought it would be best if I spend the evening in the mines gathering more. Plus I could do with the mining XP from the ores. I didn't level up from that, but I did reach level 5 farming, choosing the rancher profession this time. Not that the worth of these things really matter. Instead of using yesterday's stone or more preserves jars on day 51, I paced at Robin's counter so I could catch her on her way out for the exercise class. I bought a handful more from her, then gave it straight back to her to upgrade my coop. Being the last week of the season, I popped to Sandy's to buy beet seeds ready for fall so I can't forget later. I didn't leave the desert without chopping down all the trees there. Then I bought some wheat seeds from Pierre when I got back to town to hold the sprinkler spots for fall. I got the shock of my life when I went to visit Willy with his next gift. He had a shave and it made him look considerably younger. He accepts hugs now as well. Seems my axe's work wasn't done today either because I chopped wood as the sun was setting, partially for more buildings and machines, but also for the foraging XP. Day 52 was Willy's birthday. I've been giving him a lot of gold recently, so I had to step it up with a diamond for this special occasion and reached 8 hearts. I couldn't stay to celebrate for long though, because it was time for the weekly fishing trip. You know what happens here, so I'll just let you know we caught 134 fish when the time was up, but before I could even lay my eyes on my own catches, Willy caught me and called me over for help. Crabs. An absurd amount of crabs. However the heck this happened, I agreed to help him out, and thankfully Gus got here just in time to lend some assistance too, and take them all with him. I collected this week's fish, much of which got exchanged for oars and bait, but there's still a few decent value fish in here. I stopped in at Marnie's on my way home to bring home my first animals. Being a fishing farm, every new arrival will be getting a fish-themed name, so welcome Guppy the chicken, Tetra the chicken, and Corey the cow. I didn't realise till I got home that both the chickens were brown chickens, so I had to go back to Marnie's to get a white chicken since I need both these type of eggs for shipping, so welcome Better too. I then ducked into the caves for the night to fish for cave jelly and the lava eel, or I tried to catch the lava eel, I didn't manage it tonight. Slippery old bug. I trotted into Pierre's on day 53 to buy a bouquet which I brought straight to Willy. He seemed to take the hint. I can't believe I'm dating a fisherman. Unfortunately, this didn't give me a discount on the sonar bobbers I needed. My fishing location for today was Cindersap Forest. First at the waterfall to take the goby off the list, as well as the dorado that's been evading me all season. I was hoping to catch the rainbow trout for a challenge from Willy, but I only managed 3 of the 4 today. I wanted to try again tomorrow, but full disclosure, I completely forget about this. Whilst putting everything away that night, I was reminded about the dinosaur egg. It's a good thing I got it incubated now that the coop's upgraded. I needed to mine on day 54, so I brought the fish smoker with me to keep the profit production going. I needed a bit of all the main things down here really. The stone, the iron, the coal. Honestly, it was mainly the stone. Now that I'm mining less than my other farms, it felt strange having to actually focus on gathering the stuff. Plus, the mining and combat XP is a general struggle, but I hit level 5 combat today and chose the fighter profession. After harvesting my crops on day 55, I read a letter from Willy inviting me for a fishing trip. It's a date. Before heading down to the pier, I needed to ask Robin to upgrade my barn, and when I did make it down there a short time later, Willy wasn't even here. Have I been stood up? Was I late? I had a feeling I knew where he'd be to ask him, but on my way over, I wanted to get a duck for my coop which I called Cherry. This doesn't sound like a fish name, but I'm thinking cherry shrimp here. Willy was just in his usual Saturday spot as if he'd never even sent the invite. I was a little bewildered, but upon further research, he actually wants to go on a rainy day, so I'll come back to him then. I found my first eggs in the coop, and it was at this point I was happy I had the extra chicken because of the extra farming XP I can get every day from petting them and collecting the eggs. I didn't really leave the farm again for this day after that. I restored another bridge and tackled some more farm cleanup to make the most of the foraging XP here at home. I continued the wood chopping grind into day 56, in the forest this time, but I also picked up my second and final rare seed from the travelling cart in prep for fall. I cleared the secret wood stumps too, but I had to move up to the mountain area that afternoon after the forest ran out of trees. My axe kept me busy till the start of the Moonlight Jellies Festival. I did the usual purchase of seafoam pudding, greeted all the villagers, then hung out on the pier for the show, and to top the season off, I'd hit level 8 foraging from all that deforestation. Despite focusing on fish in this timeline, the first of a new season is still dedicated to crop planting. I actually had way more seeds than sprinkler spots now, and you might have noticed I did indeed forget to plant the wheat which I bought not to have to spend as much of this morning tilling and watering, but I won't let it go to waste here. I needed a few extra seeds from Pierre's which weren't covered by the mixed seeds I planted, and got even more seeds from Clint when I went to open the next few mystery boxes. Not that I'll be planting any corn though. I really didn't want to water this many crops every day, and I didn't want to wait ages for the quality sprinklers at level 6 farming, so I made a few basic ones to at least lessen the load. I gave Willy yet another copy of Jaws of the Sea. Not sure how he's not bored of these yet, then dug up a new fishing ring, which I think is an upgrade to the Prismarine one. These are still buggy, so I won't be doing much with this. I wound down for the night by fishing on the farm. Then on day 58, I got a brand new recipe from Willy, a smoked salmon roll. I still can't cook with my tiny house, but the thought was nice. Penny was very moved by the emerald I got for her birthday, but what really filled me with joy today was seeing that our choice of debut special requests were both fishing related. I always prefer the biome related ones for these. Having caught a few smallmouth bass on the farm last night, I completed a challenge from Willy without forgetting this time. Then I moved on to Demetrius's challenge to catch those river fish. I moved to the bridge north of Jojo halfway through to make sure I get that angler nice and early, but I needed a quick little break in the evening to donate the tiger trout and complete the river fish bundle. A top up on deluxe bait is very handy. I resumed the fishing till I ran out of energy, but I don't think it counts the modded fish because I didn't complete the quest today and I definitely caught more than 20. I smoked the angler on day 59. I can't resist boosting the value of these higher priced fish, and we can't be letting the town know how special and legendary these fish are. I had to repair this top bridge again when I left the farm, because I'm not exactly the best carpenter, so they can kinda collapse. I suppose that's another use for all that wood. I forgot what I was going to do just after I left, so I turned right around. I refocused myself to some ocean fishing instead. Plenty of brand new catches for me down here, one of which really tested my perseverance, but I didn't give up on this crimson snapper, especially once I smoke these, they're worth the pain of catching. I suddenly remembered what day it was and started racing over to Murphy, until I got distracted by a bubble spot, but it was worth it because I caught another new fish, a cookie octopus. I did get on the Chaos boat eventually and brought 129 fish and or loot back to town this time. I dropped it off at home, or in the shipping bin, then I stuck around here to fish and work on Demetrius's quest, which I still did not finish, but at least we made almost 25 grand. I did just enough mining on day 60 to gather the remaining stone needed to ask Robin to upgrade my barn. Being the first rainy day since Willy's letter, his shop was my next stop. I thought I got it wrong again because he still wasn't here. There was a note on his desk. He's sick? Oh yeah, definitely sick. I'll go check on him. Clearly we're not going for that fishing trip today. Not that it matters, I just want him to feel better. Not quite sure about this response though. I'll just put it down to his flu. I brought Evelyn a tiger trout in exchange for a prize ticket, but before claiming the goodies from that, I wanted to finish catching the last few river fish because that meant I could collect another prize ticket. Might as well collect both items at once. That Stardrop tea pushed Willy's friendship to 10 hearts, so I made haste to the Old Mariner for the pendant, only to realise I forgot to upgrade my house. It's too late in the day to ask Robin to start that upgrade, so I might as well fish in the meantime. It was late by the time I left, but I still wanted to get the walleye into the night fishing bundle. The glow ring reward sucked, but what didn't suck is that this was the last bundle to complete the fish tank, and that means the boulder got removed overnight. Some wheat was ready on day 61, and a bok choy as well. Those were replanted with mostly wheat again, then I brought a pomegranate down to the beach for Elliot's birthday gift. Robin was busy working on my barn, so instead of the house upgrade, I bought a goat called Arowana. Then for this lucky afternoon, I just couldn't keep myself away from Skull Caverns. Let's see what I can do with barely any prep and half a day. I definitely don't need as much as usual from Skull Caverns, but I do need more mining experience, as well as combat experience and Monster Slayer progress. I got my first treasure floor on 28, which had some Omni Geodes. There are so many better options it could have been. I didn't end up passing out down here because on floor 39, I broke open this iridium node to find my first prismatic shard. I wasn't going to chance getting killed and losing it, so I exited the caverns around midnight to take it to the spot in the desert that turns it into a galaxy sword. My own weapon was feeling pretty weak in here, so this was a much needed upgrade. After taking care of some farm chores on day 62, I wanted to get Robin back to my farm to upgrade the house, but before I could, I found Willy by the now destroyed boulder. He passed me his spare copper pan, so now I can pan up loot from the waters. He knows me so well. I got that house extension going, then ran down to the beach to see Willy again for that fishing trip. We're going for reals this time. I have no idea where he took me. It feels like we're out in the ocean, but there were freshwater fish everywhere. He said some adorably corny stuff, and given that we're dating and 10 hearts, I thought it would be kind of weird if I said I didn't feel the same way. For a moment there, I thought he was proposing to me. Robin's really got to hurry up with that house upgrade now. I stuck around outside for the afternoon to fish, since we really didn't catch anything on that fishing trip. Any crimson snappers went straight in the smoker. I couldn't tell you why, but I moved to the river for the evening and stepped away for a moment to give Harvey a sea cucumber. Then, on going to sleep that night, we made back most of the house upgrade cost on fish, and a few little shipping items. I gained a farming level with all those beats the next day. Definitely makes up for being awoken by Robin's construction noise. I planted a load of mixed seeds in their place, then made a brief stop at Marnie's to ask for a pig who I named Goldfish. I restocked on staircases at the desert, then asked Clint for his services to open the next round of geodes and mystery boxes. The only thing I note this time really is the mystery wallpaper. It's probably my favourite wallpaper. I made a couple of drop-offs at the community centre, but I still somehow hadn't completed the full foraging bundle because I was still missing a mushroom. I was planning on a foraging loop of the forest, but I ended up finding it pretty quickly, so with that problem solved and the forage seeds collected, the only thing standing in my way of the crafts room restoration are a couple of bits of winter forage now. Now that I'm a level 6 farmer, I thought I might as well till more spots to get this forage planted since I was about to unlock the quality sprinkler recipe. It's just another way to get me more foraging XP, and so on the morning of day 64, I harvested the next crops, and then the sprinkler problem was solved. I didn't want to waste those 3 basic sprinklers, so I moved them to the side. I'll still be using this planting space for now on some more ingredients and such. A new week means new special requests, and once again, I found what I was hoping for, the prismatic jelly quest. This will unlock the monster musk recipe, which will help with things like gathering coal from dust sprites and pushing along with other monster slayer goals, as well as combat experience. I passed Linus's basket back for blackberry season before getting straight to work hunting for that slime. No luck today though, I actually passed out trying. I woke up to a magically extended house on day 65. Strange that Robin needs a couple of days to hammer out the walls, then just does all the work in one single night, but whatever. I took a moment to rearrange things how I like them, then stepped outside to deal with the next little crop harvest. I went back to the mines again, but not for slime this time. I just wanted to sort out my storage since I came straight here from the desert yesterday, but I left some of the desert forage in here because they make great gifts for Linus. I heard a rumour that he's got a special bait recipe, just the thing I need to help out the black clownfish in my pond. A seed purchase from Pierre's was next on my list. I don't need any more bok choys, but these should do well specifically for farming XP, and they only take a few days to grow. Upon checking the coop, I found a baby lizard had hatched, and for this fish-related name, I went with Barb. I got a couple more fishy quests cleared from my journal, one of which getting me my next prize ticket, but I didn't hit the button on the machine just yet because I wanted to grab the crab pots from the beach now that I'd caught all the crab pot fish for the collection. It just makes sense for me to put them on the farm where I know I'll refill them every day. I resumed the slime hunt on day 66 while waiting for Robin to open. It was still in hiding by that point, but I managed to escape from hyper-focusing on that search to ask Robin for a silo so I can stop buying hay from Marnie. Being a Wednesday, I couldn't just dip back into the mines. I have a fishing trip to attend, and this time I wanted to see if an extra speed and luck boost would help from some spicy eel. I can't speak to whether the luck really did anything, but the speed boost stacks with the free coffee boost you get on the boat, so you can whiz around and patch things up a lot quicker. That's 183 fish or loot items in this week's trip, and 68 of them were crimson snappers. An unbelievable haul. I did also buy the mermaid pendant to give to Willy, which he happily accepted. I don't know why he's saying goodbye to his boat. He's still going to be down here most days of the week. The ticket machine had a housewarming gift for the soon-to-be new life as well, a bed for the recently renovated house. Back on the farm, I ended up shipping half my crimson snappers still raw for a quicker cash boost, along with some of the other fish as well, but this is still a lot of fish to process, so I will need the help of a few more smokers. I brought them to the mines with me so they could be working whilst I get back to the slime hunt. Clearly I wasn't planning on success so soon, but the prismatic slime presented itself right after, so I was only in there for mere seconds really. I collected everything up before taking an evening walk to the wizards to hand off the slime, but first I accidentally gifted him one of my precious lumps of coal. I really wish I could have it back, but we did get 5 grand for completing his quest, and soon I'll have the monster musk recipe for easy access to coal anyway. 21 grand we got from the big weekly fishing trip. Then on day 67, I finally remembered to bring my axe to this spot behind the Joja Mart to chop down the stump, because hidden behind this tree here is a gift box. Inside that is another prize ticket. I had another one to collect from the wizard special request, which meant I could walk away from Lewis's with some mushroom logs I forgot to ever set up, and a pomegranate sapling which I don't really need. For Jodie's birthday, I parted with a diamond. Then I took a leisurely stroll around the forest for the day to collect as many blackberries as I could for energy, and for the little nuggets of foraging XP. Whilst I was in the secret woods for hardwood and berries, I fished in the pond here because there's a new seasonal fish. Another absolute pain to catch, but the pumpkin perch is kind of adorable. Day 68 began with some rock collecting because Robin's now done with the silo, so now I need her help with the deluxe coop upgrade. I'm still in need of more stone for other projects, as well as the iron and coal, so this day was for working on those stockpiles in the mines, where I also hit level 8 mining and level 6 combat. Day 69 was the wedding day.
Nice.
But what's not so nice is that lengthy message there telling me a farm bridge has collapsed, so that's fun. Looking at both of our outfits here, I feel like we were going to look like a true fishers couple, but from this day on, Willie will be joining me on the Angler's Haven farm. Speaking of the farm, we came back to lots of bok choy to harvest, mainly all for farming XP at this point. The bridge that collapsed was the one to all my animals, and looking at some of their reactions, they were clearly annoyed about the commotion of the broken bridge. Not at all because I forgot to fill the silo, not at all. I fished out in the forest for a while and made sure Abigail got a birthday amethyst, then ran around the valley chopping down a few trees that had not been long grown. You'll be pleased to know I did go cut down some of the hay for the animals on the farm that evening, then stuck around out there to fish till bedtime. I forgot to replant my crops yesterday, but that's okay because a load of pumpkins and forage were ready on day 70, opening up a whole load more spots. I got a farming level up in there as well. I made use of the bubble spot that appeared on the farm, then made some periwinkle sashimi for some decent food and gifts to keep on me. I had some spending to do today, first to Clint to upgrade my copper pan, then to Pierre to buy a load of pumpkin seeds, again mainly for farming XP, some bok choys too. I was carrying a couple of crops here because today we completed the full crops bundle. That just leaves the brewer's bundle, which will need level 8 farming to unlock the keg to make the stuff, so just one more level to go. Just as I was leaving, I noticed some of the new arrivals to the community centre fish tank. They're mine now. I guess there are some hints of my evil twin Ember in this timeline too. Seems as though I didn't buy quite enough seeds for the farm. I ended up being too short. Not too short, I mean I am too short, but that's another story. Anyway, back to Pierre's I went to pick up some more. This is way more than I need right now, but then they'll be ready for when this lot is done in a few days. Thankfully, the delay didn't make me too late to catch the bus to the desert for the Sunday staircase trade and a quick gift to Sandy. Then, for the last thing to note this day, I chopped the hardwood in the secret woods. This is something I've been doing a fair bit, mainly for the levelling. Gunther showed up at my house the next morning with a rusty old key. Funny that even a museum curator couldn't find its use. Lucky for me, I know exactly where to use this. At least, when I remember to. Jodie was right behind. I promptly kicked her off my farm, but that's okay. My sharpened fisherwoman senses detect that she needs a fish. Probably a largemouth bass. I'll get to it, at some point, but not right now. I have the next lot of crops to pick. See, those extra seeds came in handy. I walked back to the desert for this lucky day, but before diving into Skull Caverns, I had to wait outside Sandy's shop for her to open so that I didn't miss her birthday. It's not like I have piles and piles of bombs and staircases for this caving adventure, but I did get a treasure floor with some artifact troves I need, as well as the odd prizzy or two, but the main thing I got that I was hoping for was my next mining level. Level 9 actually, so I passed out on floor 98 at the end of the night feeling very accomplished. I brought those ores I gathered to the mines on day 72, then gathered up a selection of items to display for the Stardew Fair. Lewis agreed that I brought some real quality with me, because I won first place and took my 1000 tokens to the wheel. I went with my usual strat of keeping my vote on green, with half of what I have, then betting the rest of my balance the time after I lose. This used to be a surefire way to get all the tokens I could possibly need, but for 1.6 this strat doesn't really work anymore and I lost everything, with the wheel landing on orange 2 times in a row. Yeah, I rage quit the fair. My first truffle from goldfish brightened my morning on day 73, then I continued to keep Robin busy with another fish pond this time. This week's Dawnshard fishing journey was another successful one, ending off with 130 fish and ore items, one of which was a brand new flag. Actually though, everything else wasn't really all that great, and this new flag was a gambler's crest. It has a 50% chance of doubling the amount of fish caught, but also a 25% chance of consuming all of them. This is not a gamble I wish to partake in, so I displayed the flag in my house instead because they work as furniture too. To be fair, with a little bit of added farm fishing, we still made over 10 grand this day. I needed more supplies from Pierre on day 74, some rice in addition to the bok choy seeds this time. Then whilst I was at Clint's to collect my steel pan, I got more troves and boxes open. Some decent finds in here. Ooh, a magic rock candy! I had a quick cooking sesh at home to make a fried egg and a maki roll because those were the last pieces needed for the chef's bundle. I got a single pink cake for my reward. Then it was back to Pierre's to buy 100 flour because I was also ready to complete the home cooks bundle. These complete breakfasts are a win. I now have a supply of Alex gifts. By the time I usually get around to cooking these in a save, his friendship is full. It's too many steps to make it as well. The rest of this day was for ocean fishing. I did forget to bring the smokers though. On day 75 I dropped a cookie octopus in my newest fish pond because they sound cool and I want more of them. I asked Marnie for a rabbit since I still need a foot for the Enchanter's bundle, so hopefully Swordtail can help us out. A very unfluffy name for a fluffy bunny. forest grew a few trees back, so today was for the foraging level grind, but the valley ran out of trees just a touch away from level 9. Incredibly frustrating, so planning ahead for more XP, I rushed a tree farm down before bed. I fished on the farm for a while on day 76, then left Willie a gift on my way out of the farm to check for new trees, but it was a wild pug that actually pushed me to level 9 for- Wild pug? What? Wild plum? Wild plum. It was a wild plum that actually pushed me to level 9 foraging. I brought George a tilapia because he was offering a prize ticket, but when I went to use the prize machine, I noticed the lost and found box had all the items from my Grange display I completely forgot to collect at the fair. I was excited to collect my real prize though, the Friendship 101 book, which boosts friendship gain a little, so I read it before even leaving Lewis's house. To get another easy prize ticket, I brought some shiny rocks to Emily for this week's special request, but since Lewis's is now closed, I'll go back for the ticket another time. Besides, seems Linus was waiting for me to show me something. I hated every second of that, but I really needed this bait recipe. Well, I didn't need it, my clownfish did, so that was their breakfast on day 77. I claimed my prize for Emily's rock rejuvenation of some mega bombs. Then I snuck through this hidden path here to break the log and the rock, because back here is a golden trash can with a very special book, the Alleyway Buffet, which increases the chance to find items in the trash. A must read. I don't plan to make many of these, but I gifted Robin one of the few goat's cheeses I'll ever make for her birthday, then grabbed the foraging XP from the secret woods before fishing on the farm for the rest of the day. The sweet gemberries were ready on day 78, and from those and some other crops, I finally got over the threshold for level 8 farming. We can make kegs soon! The good vibes continued in the coop where I found the first duck feather, and then over in the secret woods, I traded one of my sweet gemberries for the next star drop. From there, it was over to the community centre with the duck feather to complete the dye bundle. That got me a seed maker. Then to start work early on this week's special request, I had an evening in the mines with some monster musk, because I needed to gather 100 fresh bug meat for Willie, so of course I'm going to treat this request with the utmost priority. I was rewarded for starting this one early too, getting a prismatic shard from one of the bugs. I didn't want to pass out tonight, so I left the mines with just a couple of bug meat to go, but instead of finishing that off the next day, I just had to get my first kegs made because I have quite a few things I need to begin processing for the brewer's bundle, starting with some mead and some pale ale. I'd also prefer if one of the items could be some tea, so I started sweetening Caroline up so I can gain access to her greenhouse as soon as possible for the free leaves, even if not today. I went in for a second round of monster musk monster slaying that afternoon, first of all for the remaining 14 bug meat, but since that didn't take me long, I moved on to the dust brights instead so that I don't waste the rest of the stinky stuff. Gotta grab all the coal to smoke the fish, and working towards the burglar ring will help with this too. I even got some farming XP down here as well in the form of the Stardew Valley almanac. My first fishy find for day 80 was actually from Lewis's trash. Who throws out a perfectly good midnight carp? Actually, I don't think I've caught one of these yet. I dropped off the 100 bug meat to the barrel outside Willie's shop. Surprised he still paid his own wife, I was just happy to help. Then it was over to Murphy's boat for the Wednesday trawler trip. After running countless laps around the boat, we sailed back in with 126 fish and loot items. Pleased to see lots of super cucumbers and pufferfish today. Those will be great for the smoker, but most of the rest will be shipped raw. The fishing didn't end there, returning to the pier to catch some more fish manually whilst the smokers were working behind me. One of the things I was looking for down there was a sea cucumber for Gus, who had another prize ticket for me, but all of this day's fishing activities resulted in another 25 grand of income that night. The first rabbit's foot appeared in the coop on day 81. What a relief. My next two ticket prizes, I'll be honest, I don't really get much use of, but what I will be able to use are these tea leaves that Caroline so graciously chucked on the floor for me. I'll be having those, thank you very much. Now that I had accumulated a little bit of cash, I thought it was about time to make my first purchases from the bookseller. The first was the Way of the Wind Part 1 for a little speed boost, and the other was a combat quarterly because that skill is very slow going at the best of times, let alone when there's less focus on being in the mines. That being said, I will still need to go to places like Skull Cabin sometimes, so I made sure to trade a few prizzies for a magic rock candy for next time. I wasn't going to leave the desert without taking down all the trees for their foraging experience, and the wood chopping continued back at home where the next lot of trees had popped up, including all the extras we planted with fertilizer. Day 82 and Willie surprised me with a star drop for breakfast. I certainly won't be telling him how it tastes though. I chilled out half of this day and just fished on the farm, before working on the daily foraging grind. It definitely helps to be able to get a little boost with these foraging related books as well, and I do mean little boosts. This last level is proving to be horrendously time consuming. Farming levels are also taking their sweet time, so I added a few more sprinklers to the crop space on my farm. My evening was then another in the mines, but I'll be honest, I can't remember why this time. Day 83 had the last major crop harvest for fall. Income-wise, this doesn't really matter since I can't ship more than one of any of these, which I've already done. But the real value is the farming XP because today I reached level 9. I made a third keg specifically to brew the green tea, then it was back in the mines yet again to push for the burglaring and get through these other skills. Whilst I made a lot of progress, I didn't get any new levels here today before the Spirit Sea Festival began. I bought the jack-o'-lantern recipe and the rarecrow from Pierre, said hi to all the townies, then sniffed out the loot at the end of the maze to have a good love gift in my stores. I also only recently found out that there's now a shortcut out of the maze, so I made use of the temporary minecart. I love this new addition. Given all the mining time we've had recently, I was surprised to need more stone on day 84, but I wanted to grab enough to ask Robin for the next fish pond. The next batch of keg products were ready to go, so I was able to complete the brewer's bundle. This extra keg is kinda redundant now, but I didn't care because we've now officially finished restoring the pantry. Clint opened my boxes and geodes for me, one of which had some powder melon seeds for tomorrow, but I also got a few museum pieces to add to the collection. You might not be expecting what I did next. I sat at home for ages turning my hops back into hop starters. With the greenhouse to be functional tomorrow, that'll provide more opportunities for that precious farming XP, and hopefully soon we'll be able to meet the raccoon too since it's gonna need to find a new home. My first order of business for this chilly season was to set up the refurbished greenhouse. I struggled through trying to organise a layout for these trellis crops, and they all got some sort of speed grow so I could start getting daily farming XP here as soon as possible. I also got a few powder melons planted, then collected a few more gold bars in the mines to make another 3 sprinklers for the greenhouse, and to make use of some of the extra spots between the rows of hops, I planted my leftover seeds from fall. On my way down to check on the animals for the day, I dug up an extra jack book, and the extra combat XP I got progressed me to level 8, which was a nice surprise. On the lookout for some winter forage, I found some footsteps to a bush where a shadow person was hiding. They handed me a magnifying glass, so now I can find secret notes. I picked up a crocus nearby, found a crystal fruit near Linus's tent, dug up a snow yam near the train station, and grabbed some holly from the secret woods, so now I have all the winter forage since I already have the winter root from the mines. Before going to donate it all the next day, I found a note from Willie in the mail asking for a squid. Don't know why he had to ask me a writing, but I handed one over first thing that morning, and it seems he's grown his beard back to keep himself warm for winter. With a quick drop off to the community centre, I've now completed the winter foraging bundle. The reward seeds will be great for XP, but more importantly, that's another entire room ticked off the list. I needed to pop to Willie's shop for some supplies, but I found him taking a little break with all that nasty bug meat I gathered for him. I asked what he did to make such special bait, but instead, he wanted to let me know a little family secret. Not our marriage gaining his trust for this. No, it was the bug meat. Either way, the quality bubble will be great, if I ever remember to use it. Right now though, I'm mostly interested in the sonar bobber. That way I can know that my first lingcod was on the end of the line. With my fish variety growing, I made my first big chest to upgrade one of my current ones. I love how easy it is to switch these out. My first bottle of wine was ready on day 87. This is some very important wine, because this was for completing the Enchanters bundle, the final bundle to finish the entire community centre, all through the power of fishing.
Ugh.
The gifts to the Junimos were done, but I still needed to give one to Linus for his birthday, then home I went as a shortcut to the forest for a little fishing sesh. I had a glacier fish to catch, or to feed and let go apparently. I had a little breather to take care of the animal chores, then returned to that fishing spot with a dish of the sea and some trap bobbers to increase my chances. A couple of casts later and the glacier fish was in my hands. Then, with that taken care of, I was ready to go for my first winter fishing day with Murphy, except he wasn't there. I guess it's because the sun sets earlier in winter, so I was probably just about too late. My afternoon plans were ruined, so I just stuck by the ocean to fish there for the rest of the day. Not unhappy with the amount of money made today still, and a lot of it was down to the smoked glacier fish. I wanted to get my pickaxe upgraded on day 88, but when I got the minecart to town, I was pulled into a celebration going on at the community centre. The place was buzzing with activity, and I got a trophy for putting in all the work to restore this place. But let's be honest, we're all here to see Morris off for the first flight out of Pelican Town. I was overjoyed that I actually managed to complete the community centre this year, but it was a bit of a pain that I now had to walk to Clint's, given that I originally took the minecart. I got that upgrade organised before a trip to the forest and the secret woods to keep up the foraging XP progress. Then for the evening, I was hoping to catch a lava eel while smelting some ores, but I couldn't get it to bite tonight. I woke up to a mailbox stuffed full of cooking recipes, a good sign of a friendship boost. The greenhouse bok choys were ready to go, and with some recently acquired metal bars, I can make a few more sprinklers for later. I wanted to pop to the desert for some artifact troves and caverning supplies, and with the thought of some future foraging XP, I wanted to plant over 150 pine cones since the trees will still grow out here in winter. That was the plan until I remembered that the bookseller is in town today, and I wanted to see what he brought this time. With farming XP being more of a struggle on this farm, I wasn't going to turn down a chance for even a sprinkle of assistance from this book. I ended up spending a desert totem to get back over there and finish the tree planting. Surprisingly got them all done in time too. I did laps outside Clint's waiting for him to open the next day. I needed my pickaxe back because this good luck day will be spent in Skull Caverns. I wasn't rushing down the floors in the way that I usually would, taking time to slay any monsters I passed, if it was safe to do so, though that did change a little when I came across this secret note on floor 19, letting me know that someone was waiting for me down on floor 100. I found some free bok choy seeds along the way, and I even hit level 10 mining, then made it to Mr. Key that night, surrounded by snakes. I don't know what came over me, but I agreed to drink the snake milk here. Thankfully this was a good thing, because this health boost should come in handy for the rest of this combat XP I'll be needing. I continued down the floors on a monster hunt, ending my night on floor 135. No new combat levels today, but I got to pick my last mining profession. This is a temporary choice for now. These weren't the options I was expecting to see. I must have misclicked at level 5 and not noticed I made the wrong choice, or I forgot. On day 91, I planted those treasure bok choy seeds in the greenhouse. Then I brought Caroline a spangle I saved from summer for her birthday. I got Clint to open those artifact troves and a couple of mystery boxes for me. Pleased to see a good few new museum donations in there, but the only rewards I'll be claiming are the triple shot espressos and the rare crow. I was out for an afternoon of cave fishing where I needed a good few attempts to catch myself an ice pip, and I did try again for that lava eel, but it continued to remain hidden. I suddenly remembered something before bed that night, the rusty key. It only took me 20 days since I got it. I know, that's far too long to meet Krobus really, but I met his acquaintance with a purchase of a star drop. I did also reset my mining profession, this time picking miner, then prospector. Anything to get my hands on more coal to smoke the fish. Day 92 began with a powder melon harvest, all of which got turned back into seeds, but before I could finish getting my next crop ready, I had to make a run for the Festival of Ice. Obviously, I had to go trash talk my own husband before the big competition. I made sure to grab the rare crow from the igloo, then took my place for the fish off. A couple of minutes later, I reeled in 6 fish. Plenty to be taking home the prizes, and it looks like Willie just wanted to pretend that his loss for the day never happened. It wasn't time to rest yet though, gotta get all those powder melons replanted. The first lot of greenhouse hops were ready on day 93. A huge relief, the start of a lot of extra daily farming XP in here. Even more when the rest mature. Most of those hops went straight back into the seed maker to fill up the empty sprinkler spaces, but I did have to hit pause on the seed production to try catch Robin at her desk to build yet another fish pond. I shared a plate of sashimi with her for letting me put in an order on her day off. I then went all the way down to Willie's boat room from there. It's about time he showed me what he's been keeping locked up in here. I mean, it's not exactly what I imagined, but lucky for him, he's married the right fisherwoman, and I just so happened to be carrying the exact materials to get this wreck seaworthy again. I checked out the recently opened quarry after that. Kinda forgot about this with everything else that's been happening. Lots of coal here for the taking, including inside the creepy mines, but what I was mostly here for was the golden scythe, so I can have an extra one for Ginger Island. It took ages for me to sort the rest of the hop starters with my single seed maker, but I did still manage to get them all situated in the greenhouse before the day was up. I wasn't the only one who had a late night, because Willie and Robin stayed up to repair the boat. Then on day 94, I harvest the winter forage grown from the community centre seeds, turning them right back into more seeds, because I really want to push along with that level. I then got everything packed up for Ginger Island, at least as much as I could remember, but before getting on that boat, I had to catch another one with Murphy. I wasn't going to miss another big weekly fishing trip. I left all my island stuff on the pier, can't have anything weighing me down and slowing my ability to patch up this mess, and I'd gotten pretty good at it too, bringing in a new best of 153 fish. There were quite a few crimson snappers, but the rest wasn't overly exciting this time. This'll all have to hang out on the pier for my trip to the island, and after a much more relaxing boat ride, I was out of the snowy valley for a tropical island getaway. I went ahead with my normal routine to get as many initial walnuts as possible, though I completely forgot I didn't need to bring my own tent kit with me because there are some free ones hanging out in the jungle area. I didn't have much trouble seeking out the walnuts north of the island, but it felt a bit slow going because I also forgot to bring any speed boosting food or drink. I still managed to get the west turtle out of the way, and got some initial seeds planted for the frog, even if I was missing the garlic for now, but somehow, late that night, I successfully collected enough walnuts to repair the farmhouse, except I still slept in a tent. Why? I honestly can't tell you. And of all nights, tonight was the night of a very strong windstorm. My tent had vanished, but thankfully I awoke in one piece on day 95 and got straight to chopping hardwood for foraging experience. I got a tiger hat around here along with the slimy walnut. Probably won't ever wear it, but it was cool I got it as a drop. After taking down all the hardwood in the farm area, I paid the parrots to restore the farmhouse here, and I'm kind of embarrassed about this next bit, but it took me most of this day to complete the Simon Says game here. When I was finally free from that cave, I fished out by the farmhouse to catch my first discus, and enough walnuts to repair the bridge to the dig site. I didn't want to wait another second to free Professor Snail, and gain access to the golden walnuts from this little area. I was in the middle of clearing out the dig site when I realised it was getting late. I didn't feel like walking all the way to the farmhouse, only to walk all the way back here in the morning, so I popped up a tent and camped out here for the night, and that meant I could finish the job on day 96. Professor Snail happily took a few fossils off my hands in exchange for a walnut, and I got a couple more for completing the island survey. Then, since it was raining, I went looking for the day's gem bird, a ruby in the west, so I could use this clue to brute force my way through the other pedestals and win another few walnuts. I was getting a little homesick by this point, so I walked back to the valley. It had been a few days, and I had some things to take care of on the farm, but also that windstorm a couple of nights ago means the big old tree in the Cindersap forest got blown over and is ready for me to fix up. Look how cozy! I'm proud of my work here. Who needs Robin anyway? Speaking of Robin, the 5th fish pond was now complete. I like the look of the potential products for the ice pip, so that's what will be living in here. And for my last to-dos before bed, I have a load of things to harvest in the greenhouse for farming XP, and handed over 3 black clownfish from the ponds to Willy. He's been asking for these since the beginning of the year, and that's an extra 2.5 grand. I got straight to the next batch of hops the next morning, then whilst tending to the bus stop forage, I noticed that Pam was having a day off. This sign could be improved. Much better. I checked on the stump house to find a fluffy new resident hungry for fish. It's the raccoon's lucky day. I am a fisherwoman, and I'll be taking the midnight cup with me to smoke whilst I fish on the pier, but when I got to the beach area, I was reminded that today was one of the Squidfest days. I'd completely forgotten. I was just going to try and do this without the targeted bait, but it wasn't going well, so I popped back home to make some with my stored up squids. That allowed me to blast through all 10 squid catches that evening, the amount I needed to collect all the day's prizes. I read the Art of Crabbing book whilst I was still on the beach to give me a 25% chance to double my crab pot catches. I'll take any boost to how many fish I can get. More fish for me! I found some cookies in the trash which I snacked on my way home. Then I brought the fish to the raccoon so they had some snacks too. I really needed this thank you gift of 25 powder melon seeds. Freebies towards my farming XP grind. I'm so glad we have an actual winter crop now. On day 98 I got some more squid bait ready for my second day of Squidfest, then harvested those spare pumpkins along with the daily hops. I delivered Harvey's birthday coffee on my way down to the beach, where I noticed a slight lack of festivities. It turns out Squidfest was Friday and Saturday, so really I missed the first day. Literally nothing I can do about that now, so I just refilled my crab pots, then spent the entire day in the mines hunting dust sprites for coal, getting well over 100 by the time I passed out. There were some powder melons to harvest on day 99. A portion of these went into the seed makers to replant. Oh yeah, I have 2 now. Double the seed speed. Even with that, it took a lot of the day to get the seeds ready for the field, and by the time I was ready to exit the farm, it was already growing dark. I checked the week's special requests on my way past, and went for Linus's one because cleaning out the waters will definitely make a nicer home for all the wild fish I still want to catch. Then it was time for the night market. I hit the mermaid show first to make sure I don't forget about the pearl here. Then I grabbed my free coffee before heading into the submarine for a night of fishing. I successfully caught all of the exclusive submarine fish within a couple of hours, but I literally didn't stop fishing until I passed out with some last second seaweed. Some of those deep sea fish went straight into the smokers the following morning. I dealt with my usual farm tasks, then cut down some grass to turn into hay for my animals because I didn't realise the silo completely ran empty. It took me till today to remember to meet the wizard by the railroad, but with this magical squid hat, I can read his mind, so I'll make my way into the cave for him at some point to retrieve some magic ink. I also wanted to come and pre-drop off the trash for Linus, so now I just have to catch it to complete the quest. Then it was straight to the beach from there for night 2 of submarine fishing. I wanted to get there pretty much right when it opened. To give me an easier time, I munched on some escargot, shells and plate and everything, and I re-put on one of those special fishing rings because it seems this way the extra fishing buff might actually be working. I came armed with blobfish bait this time, but out of all this bait I only got 5 blobfish, and I was catching way more trash, so I probably won't be using that again down here. I had much better luck after that with my deluxe bait, which again I continued to fish with till I passed out. The next forage seeds had grown on day 101, still working on that darn foraging level which I didn't get today, but it was better news in the greenhouse because there were literally just enough ripe crops to max out the farming level. The hops in here will still be useful later when we unlock masteries. I wanted to go with a bit of a journal clearing mission today, starting with Clint's iron bar, followed by a trip to the mutant bugler in the sewers to collect the dark talisman. That cleared my way into the railroad cave, but inside I found a new obstacle, a goblin. I had the power to conjure up what this henchman desires from the water before his very eyes, a jar of void mayo. Bribe accepted, I followed him into the witch hut. The henchman was nowhere to be found, but I could now get my hands on that magic ink, and made a break for it before I could get caught. The wizard was pleased with my find, but I couldn't stay to chat. I got one more day of submarine fishing to get to, but I arrived at the beach a little early to see if I could squeeze in a boat trip with Murphy. Either he's not here today or it's gotten dark and I'm late. It's probably the latter. Oh well, more submarine time for me. I passed out down here for the third and final time of the year, and the nighttime means it's time to pick my farming profession. Neither of these really mattered to me, but I went with the barmaster. Not entirely sure the reasoning behind my choice though. On day 102, I roped Robin into building yet another fish pond on the farm. I'm gonna give a couple of them their own island over here. I went out for the day in the desert to visit Sandy with a gift, and chop down any trees which had grown, which I was disappointed to find was only a few, but at least one of them had a book containing some extra experience. I used some of that wood to repair a recently crumbled bridge at home, then hung out on the farm to fish for the evening. Interesting choice for me to be standing on one of the bridges though, given that they do periodically collapse, and once I realised this, I moved over to the safety of the little dock here, which has remained standing for the entire year. I was ready for another island trip on day 103. I had a couple of crops ready for the resident frog to inspect, who gave me quite a few walnuts in return. Just the garlic left to go, which I haven't been able to get the seeds for yet. I was mainly here because these were the only trees left standing anywhere to be able to level my foraging with, and using a few of those with a few bits of beach forage, I finally added another level 10 skill to my list. Those walnuts I got earlier meant I could get the beach resort repaired, but more importantly, this gets me through to the Pirates Cove area of the beach where I noticed a brand new dog. There was a note here, from Murphy. He'll be here every Saturday too. Another chance for a weekly chaos fishing trip. I grabbed all the easy walnuts from around here, then zoomed off home to get into that mastery cave, but I was still locked out. I completely forgot how far behind I was on the combat levels. All that excitement, straight down the drain. I thought it might be best if I checked the Adventurers Guild for Monster Slayer goals, so I can work on those whilst racking up combat XP, but then I remembered how many things I've killed recently, and that means I can get into the back room here to collect the Mapping Cave Systems book to get a 50% discount on Marlon's item retrieval service. I don't foresee me needing this very much really, but I wanted to read it for the collection, and before getting out of here, I checked with Gil who had a couple of rewards for me. The burglar ring was a major win considering I didn't even notice when I completed the Dustbright goal. Might come in handy for all this slaying I'll have to do. Even though it's late, I still headed to Skull Caverns with Monster Musk for some of the best combat XP gain, and before the night was over, I made it a little ways into level 9. For my foraging profession by the way, I went with Lumberjack since I won't be selling any tree syrups, and the wood I'll need to keep up with the falling bridges. It was Evelyn's birthday on day 104. She got a gold star fairy rose from 4. It was then onto the boat to the island from there to get on another boat with Murphy. I'd been missing these thrilling excursions, and our first island tour ended with a haul of 136 fish and loot items. I was surprised not to find any tropical fish in there, but I can't complain at the 38 crimson snappers, a brand new flag, and this new trident. This tool allows you to instantly grab fish from the water, but it says they'll be of low quality. I asked Murphy to identify the new flag, but unfortunately it's just another gambler's crest, so another one I'll hang on the walls at home. I then gave the trident a whirl. My first dip in the water gave me 2 lionfish, and they were gold quality, so I wonder if the low quality was referring to the type of fish instead of the star rating. I'll investigate this more another time though, because right now, I wanted to continue fighting monsters in Skull Caverns. Will I get to level 10 today? I'm certainly gonna try. Yikes. Well, whatever. Not even death can bring me down. Back into the caverns I went to continue working towards that eventual fishing rod upgrade, the real root of my motivation. Whilst I didn't hit level 10 tonight, I did make a considerable chunk of progress. I wanted to carry on for day 105, but I didn't have enough bat wings to make another monster musk, so I had to gather those first. Being a Sunday, I could also grab some extra staircases for any times I might need to make a quick escape from being overrun again. Not that I'll need to worry about that too much, because I reached level 10 combat that evening. I got out of there as quick as I could, and I didn't stop running until I reached the now unlocked Mastery Cave. I looked longingly at the advanced iridium rod. The top of the line tool will be mine soon enough. I noticed the next pond was done when I got home, so I decided to cultivate some blobfish, and then I made some more preserves jars to process all the fish roe we've been stacking up, plus the raccoons need some crystal fruit jelly. For my final profession choice in combat, I went with Brute to have an easier time checking off those monster slayer goals. On day 106, I got back to my greenhouse crops now that the XP in here will count towards something again, even if half the rate. Same with the XP from the secret wood stumps, but I also needed the hardwood for the next house upgrade. I walked straight back to the farm from there where I spent the rest of the day plucking fish from the ocean with the trident. This thing is wild. No need for bait, and no minigame, which definitely saved me quite a bit of real life time more than anything, but it was still very tiring work, and I found myself chomping quite a few of my catches. I thought it was time to make my way home when my backpack was overflowing with fish, and because I got through so many fish with all the smokers, that helped bring in 32 grand that day. On day 107, I plucked the last of the powder melons out of the ground. You'll see that the sprinklers are now getting increasingly bare. I really wanted to be able to fill all of this with fiber seeds, but I forgot to finish the rest of Linus's quest last week, so no fiber plants for me. And I wanted to reorganise a few things around here. Mainly wanted to leave some space for paths, and those paths will help me with easier access to all my shiny new crab pots. I still made it out to Leah with a birthday gift, and for this week's special request, I'm obviously picking Willie's one. No explanation needed. I took a detour back home to chop the hardwood stumps, which went towards adding another deluxe worm bin to the collection. Then I moved my furnaces from the mines area to the farm. It just makes sense since I don't spend as much time up there. On day 108, I brought breakfast to the raccoon and his new wife, who thanked me with a raccoon journal. I read it to get a higher chance of mixed seeds from weeds. Considering I don't sell my crops, freebie seeds from the ground, even just for farming XP, I'll take them all. I got Clint to open all the capsules of loot in their various forms, scoring several new museum donations. Still not interested in any of these rewards though. It was then time for my Wednesday boat trip with Murphy, and this was the first time in a few weeks I actually remembered to bring spicy eel and triple shots to get around the boat super speedy. I did attempt using the trident off the side of the boat to see if I could boost my gains, but I only really got trash, so it's just not worth it at all. All those speed boosts resulted in an incredible score of 147 fish and treasure items in the net. The fish collection, not so great, but we did get a new ancient flag, and by the time I got done loading my loot into my backpack, Murphy had already left town for the night, so I'll have to ask him next week, which is next year. Even if the fish weren't high in value, it at least meant I had a good surplus of cheaper fish to turn into sashimi for food and gifts. Then, for the next step of farm prep for the new year, I got some forage seeds planted, just to keep the sprinkler spots dug and watered. I started my winter star morning trident fishing on the farm. Still fishing, even on a holiday. All the villagers were gathered in town for the big winter star feast, where I said all of my hellos, then barged my way past Sam to hand Vincent his secret gift of some great quality grapes. Shane brought me a gift this year, and it was a pumpkin pie. Maybe just for today, it might be nice to see some food not made from fish. My blobfish needed gifts of its own on day 110, then I took a little walk up to Robin to make some house renovations, but I didn't know that we now had to pay for these. I mean, it does make sense for adding entire rooms and removing walls to have a cost, to be fair. I never even noticed the new options here last time, but if I want to try them, I'll have to clear the way around here. However, I did still spend some money on some crafting recipes. Clint got his birthday gift whilst I was on my way to do some digging at the dig site on the island, as well as a whole lot of fishing with my good old fishing rod for Willie's quest. I guess the trident does too much damage for the fish for him, because getting them this way doesn't count. I eventually moved over to the Pirate's Cove for the stingrays, but I did take a break to play some darts, and win a few golden walnuts, then still made it all the way back home in time for bed. On day 111, I decorated the house with several aquariums I brought from Willie's shop yesterday. I was irritated at first that I couldn't send to the large fish tanks in the room, so I had to switch up my plans a bit. We'll be spending next year filling these up. The actual Stardew Valley aquarium mod isn't ready yet, so I'm gonna make my own at home. I returned to the island this day because Murphy was waiting for our second weekly island boat trip together. I did forget to bring that new flag from the other day for assessment, but it's alright, we got another one today, and this one is called the Parley flag. This one prevents leaks from occurring. Are we going to stick it to the side of the boat or something? But it would mean reducing the reward quality by 25%, so I'm out. I cracked another couple of walnuts out of the mussel rocks, then fished out on the resort beach to catch enough lionfish to complete the rest of the tropical fish quest. I then collected my prize ticket, which I made room for on my way home that night. As I said good morning to Willie on New Year's Eve, he said the loveliest thing. Aww. Had to ruin it with the beer though, didn't he? Have it back. On top of that, he went through the trouble of stuffing a giant fish tank in the mailbox. Why not just put it in the house? Anyway, this day was about decorating a bit to get the farm in order, and asking Robin for yet another fish pond to be ready early into the new year. I remembered right after that I wanted to move some things, and with Robin now preoccupied, I had to use the wizard's podium. The pet bowl was in the way of where I wanted some paths, and I wanted to give a little space between these two fish ponds here. I got all the paths down that I wanted that evening, and since I've accumulated a fair amount of torches from the recycling machines, I plopped quite a few of them down for a bit of lighting on this very dark farm. Satisfied with my work on the farm for today, I could go to sleep after quite the life-changing year. Well, would you look at that? This alternate me, a changed woman. I'm a fisher now! To the Ferngill Republic Anti-Fishing Club, how do you like me now? Kent was on my doorstep at the crack of dawn on New Year's Day. It would be nice to meet you, but I'm really not a morning person. The new season brought in lots of debris and weeds, so I took a minute to clear that up, then got an assortment of seeds out of my chest to plant. And as a reminder, I'm not going to need too many crops really, just enough to cook with mainly, since I can't make any money from them aside from covering shipping requirements and quests. I did still need to purchase some seeds though. I got some rhubarb from Sandy, then a few of everything from Pierre. Like I said, pretty much to cook with later. I actually bought more seeds than I have space for, but at least I've got them ready for whenever some spots open up. When I went to claim a prize from last year's ticket, I noticed some stuff in the lost and found. Loads of broken glasses? I guess I must have forgotten to finish community cleanup. Don't worry though, I've got it again this week. Hopefully I can get it done this time. I headed to the island farm next, having decided I didn't want to wait any extra time to plant my garlic. I mean, come on, it's garlic. All versions of me love garlic, and I needed to plant some here for the frog too anyway. A couple of golden walnuts from my taro was a nice bonus, then I did some weeding around here, donated some dino ribs I dug up, and lastly, I collected all the mussels from here before heading to bed. I was back on the home farm for day 114 to harvest the hops. I'm still working on my masteries, but I'll admit, I get quite forgetful about these hops harvests. I had some mystery boxes to open, and now that I've added the fast animations mod, you might have noticed it in a couple of places already, I had a much better time dealing with Clint. I read the treasure appraisal guide there and then, because we can fish up artifacts, so I might as well be able to squeeze a little bit more money out of him. I had an artifact on me actually, but this one is for the museum, and for that I got 5 more farm totems. Conveniently, Penny was also here because I had a discus to deliver to her for some extra gold and friendship. The afternoon onwards, I fished with my trident on floor 100 of the mines. Well, it was more litter picking really, but it was very effective. I grabbed a couple of lava eels there too. I do still want to actually try and catch the lava eel with my fishing rod, so I stayed for the rest of the day, but even starting with some lava eel bait, I literally didn't hook it at all. I gave up that evening. I wanted to leave with enough time anyway to drop the trash up to the railroad. I wasn't about to let Linus down again. Day 115, and it was time for our first trawler trip of the year. I brought that flag with me we got at the end of last year for Murphy to identify. It was a Jolly Roger flag which quadruples our output, but whenever there's a leak, all the holes will open. More chaos and more reward? Sign me up! I was definitely rusty after a few weeks break, so going all out chaos on my first comeback attempt was definitely a choice, but we still made it back in one piece with a whopping 326 fish. That is a wild number. Plus, we got another flag, and on top of that, 78 of them were black clownfish. That's a good chunk of change when smoked. The flag was just another parley flag, so not worth the use. A lot of the less valuable fish went into the shipping bin or got turned into sashimi if that was more worth it. Then I stayed on the farm for a bit more cleanup because clearly there were some areas of the farm I forgot about a couple of days ago. There'll be a lot of evenings this year where any time I have left will be spent smoking fish and fishing some more on the farm to use up time and energy. And because of how often I do this, I might not mention it every time, so if we skip some evenings, this'll be what I was up to. The old Jojamart got struck by lightning overnight. Not ominous at all. Think I'm gonna avoid the area for a while, and it's absolutely not because I forgot about it. Day 116, I set up a chest for the fish smokers and recycling machines because this is a little bit more efficient than rooting around in my other chests for stuff every time I want to refill the machines. I brought a golden pumpkin to Kent for his birthday to get a jump start on that friendship before hopping on the boat with Willy to a rainy ginger island where I wanted to get the walnuts from the mermaid song. That's not right. Take 2. There we go. I used those walnuts to get the mailbox here, a step towards the farm obelisk. Then I planned to head into the volcano next for more walnuts, until I realised I forgot my watering can. I hung out on the dig site instead, trident fishing whilst waiting for panning spots to show up. I really wanted to pan up the fossilised tail, but there wasn't a single panning spot at all today. I headed home for the daily farm tasks on day 117, and replanted just the parsnips since I had 8 more of those. I'm not fussed about farming much this year, so I might as well ignore a lot of the ready ones, just like I am with the carrots. I did still have a reason to reset my farming profession though, and I'll explain that one a bit more when we go to bed. I returned to the island with the watering can in hand this time to take on the volcano. I don't think I've made it to the top on this save yet, so that's my goal for the day. Plus, I should really get started on the dragon teeth grind. Lucky for me, I found several on the ground just waiting for me here. I was gonna buy the recipe when I got to the 5th floor, but I completely forgot I still can't speak Dwarvish. Just another little thing to panic about that'll remain in the back of my mind for a while from now. I made it to floor 9 late that night where I got my first and only treasure chest of the day, which contained a golden walnut and a pair of mermaid boots. These are a massive upgrade for me, so they're going straight on my feet. The old ones are ready for the trash. I actually forgot that there was another treasure chest at the top of the volcano, but given the hour, I first wanted to prioritise unlocking the gate out of here in case I pass out, so now I have an easy way back in for the forge. I claimed the next walnuts and the prismatic shard, which I immediately used in the forge to enchant my trident, which I had no idea I could do. I got the swift enchantment, but gonna be honest, I didn't notice any difference on it at all. I passed out there just after. Then it was time to repick my farming professions. This time, I'm going with the artisan profession because one of you lovely lot let me know either in the Premier chat or in a comment that choosing this path also impacts the smoked fish, so now they're worth 2.8 times the amount instead of just double. Waking up on the island farm meant I was here to show the frog the newly grown garlic, rewarding me with his final walnuts. Whilst clearing out more of the farm here, I got a journal scrap for another golden walnut I thought I already grabbed. Clearly I hadn't, but hey, there's another pearl too. Instead of using my walnuts on the farm obelisk, I freed the island trader from the cliffside, then moved on to the dig site to try and pan up that fossil again. It didn't take too long for me to get bored of that today, so I opted for another round in the volcano instead, but that was until I was getting annoyed with my backpack repeatedly getting full, so I warped on out of there. I still had a lot of fish to smoke from Wednesday's trawler trip anyway, so I just hung out on the farm to do that instead. And I also made a couple more deluxe worm bins to keep up with the bait supply. That does mean I forgot to visit Murphy on the island today though. Along with a few shipping completion bits and aged roe, staying on the farm to smoke the fish meant we brought in nearly 57 grand that night, so still very much worth our time. I reached a new level of understanding whilst refilling my crab pots on day 119. I finished off my morning farm chores, then headed out to the woods where I dropped off some mushrooms and algae to the mushrooms. Wait. Oh, it's the raccoons. Of course it's the... Then headed out to the woods where I dropped off some mushrooms and algae to the raccoons. The raccoon hat reward was a little suspicious, so I decided to get rid of the evidence and carry on about my day. My next stop being the Mastery Cave. I didn't get hold of the Advanced Iridium Rod last year, so of course fishing was my first pick. Plus now we can make challenge bait and find golden fishing chests. A must for this life. Lewis got his birthday gift at the community centre of a hot pepper, then I carried on upwards to Robin's to ask for my next fish pond. I can't actually remember why I popped into the mines next, but it looks like I got distracted by this messy chest here, so I thought I better clear it out. But before taking all that stuff home, I hopped on the minecart for a fleeting visit to Clint to open a golden coconut, adding another walnut to my balance. When I eventually did make it home, I made a batch of challenge bait to try out later, as well as 15 more crab pots for some more daily income. And I did make sure to get that rice out of the way so it doesn't think I'm trying to harvest it every time I refill the crab pots. Not that I really need it for anything. I got started that night on my home aquarium, but was surprised to find that it took most of my tanks to just house the crab pot fish. I'm gonna need a lot more tanks, so I'll revisit this project on a future date. I took the bus out to the now foresty desert on day 120 to top up on triple shot espressos and grab some artifact troves for the museum. I also brought my axe with me, specifically to take out the palm trees for coconuts. I took these, along with some more I had stored at home, to the island trader to acquire more golden coconuts before heading over to Clint to ask for an axe upgrade and to get lots of stuff smashed open. Thanks to the fast animations mod, I didn't even have to speed this footage up. It makes the geode process much more satisfying, instead of how tedious it usually is. I got 4 new museum donations from all that, still ignoring all these rewards. Then, with the few saplings I got from the golden coconuts, I planted them in the greenhouse. I had some more fishing planned for the evening and whipped up some lobster bisque to aid me. I was hoping to catch some new stuff in the forest, but they weren't spawning yet. Some of the fish were bugged at the time in the Fish of Stardew mod, but this does get fixed later on, so don't worry, we will get to see all the fish. I decided to attempt the radioactive carp instead, though trying this with challenge bait might not have been the smartest idea. Thankfully, my first bite was just a carp. If you don't know how this bait works, you get 3 fish for a perfect catch, but each time the fish leaves the bar, you lose one. Do that 3 times, and you fail the whole catch, so trying this with a legendary fish, probably gonna be a waste. I did come to my senses a lot later on, and switch back to deluxe bait, but I didn't end up hooking it this evening at all anyway. The whole of day 121 was for fishing on the farm, still with deluxe bait. I feel like I'm too clumsy for the challenge bait, but I did have a little break because I was feeding some crop picking that afternoon, just replanting with whatever I had on hand. My reason for today's harvest was because I have Pierre's prime produce to complete, but with this day being otherwise dedicated to fishing, it wasn't till the next morning that I went to drop off the goods. That means we got another prize ticket to claim, a mining monthly book which has some XP that will go towards our next mastery level. I collected my gold axe from Clint before sailing off for my next chaotic trawler trip with Murphy. I felt like I was struggling to keep up today, but we still made it back to shore that evening with 356 fish. Shame the majority were just cockles, but there were a few in here valuable enough to spend the coal on to smoke. For my last job before bed, I headed to the secret woods for hardwood and to hunt for morels. I found one, but eventually I'm gonna need more for cooking and crafting too. On day 123, I popped to Ginger Island to look for dig spots for the snake spine, and to check on the walnut room progress. 94 out of 100. So close. Not long now, hopefully, because there's the potential for some very valuable quests inside. Working towards that, I handed in the fossilized skull from the other day, then really gave those patience muscles a workout by sticking around the dig site for the whole afternoon till I finally panned up the fossilized tail that evening. Being the last piece to complete that set, it was very much worth waiting out there for, because the reward was 6 more golden walnuts, the exact number I need to enter the walnut room. I was hoping for the extended family quest, which wasn't there, but Key's kindness was a good enough substitute because I need to push on with some of the friendships anyway, as you can see by my 8% good friend score on the perfection tracker. I didn't fancy crashing at the island house that night, so I used my walnuts on building the farm obelisk so I can get back home. Left the poor island totem behind though. On day 121, I filled my backpack to the brim with a variety of goods to begin tackling the Key quest using Look Up Anything to help me. Not much else to report today, it just looked a bit like this. Day 125 was the Egg Festival, and this time I was actually recording for it, and I remembered to buy the strawberries. I couldn't tell you why I bought quite this many though. XP for masteries, I guess. I did the round of greetings, then dominated the egg hunt for a second year in a row. Anything for another prize ticket. I replaced whatever had grown with those strawberries when I got home, and used up more seeds by filling up the empty spaces in the greenhouse. Really making up for last year's lack of strawberries, huh? Day 126 and we're back to this. You get the point. But I did gain a star drop tea from the prize machine on my way past, and whilst working on those gifts, I was also working on that multi-step quest for Birdie. I thought this was a nice little efficient way of doing this. I gave the 50th gift out that evening, but I still wanted to work on more friendships, so I did carry on for a while after, and as you can see, I had a real fun and dandy time trying to give Sebastian this frozen tear whilst 3 people are in each other's personal space. I did also get the pirate's locket from Willy, which I'll bring to the island another day. That would be the next day, and as a thank you, I now have the fairy dust recipe and another few golden walnuts to my name. A new week means new key quests. Now, you'd have thought I'd jump right at the opportunity to do the extended family quest, but I went with the prismatic range instead because I've got quite a lot of things I need to buy with key gems, and that one gives a higher reward. For now, I just bought my usual first purchase at the key to the town. Even though I ended up being quite late, I still walked to the desert to attend the first day of the festival. My first stop was the cardboard box to get a new outfit, and I'll be honest, I really like this one. Just gotta perfect it with my squid hat. The chef whipped up a warrior smoothie for me. Then I attempted the scholar's little quiz, except I failed on the second question. No calico eggs for me from there, so I caught 3 sandfish for Willy's challenge. Only problem is he didn't seem to be here, so I wasn't quite sure how to collect my reward. I moved on from that for now, and adopted a free cactus, then made my way into Skull Caverns with an aim to reach at least floor 30 for the Adventurers Guild challenge. Plenty of calico eggs up for grabs in here too. I used a jump hole to pass floor 30 that evening, and exited the caverns a few floors later. I only managed an egg rating of 14 by then, which is fine, nothing special, but then I didn't spend any of my eggs today. I'll save them for a future day, and I got even more when I got home from Willy. I guess he was hiding out here. I was straight back in the desert for day 128, and walked right up to the scholar for a do-over. Kinda arrived too early though, so I got a smell of the sea for breakfast. It was questionable though, and scents aren't very filling, so I went back for a sour salad. Even that didn't fuel my brain though, because I failed the scholar's quiz for a second time in a row on exactly the same question, because I answered it in exactly the same way as yesterday. Thanks, brain. I comforted myself with some retail therapy at Jodie's store because she was selling this lovely wallpaper. Starting around lunchtime, I gave myself longer in Skull Caverns today. I needed to get through more floors because my challenge for the day was to gather at least 15 iridium ore. Pretty straightforward really. I got double what I needed by the time I was ready to leave that night, and submitted a slightly more impressive egg rating of 23 for another 100 calico eggs, and some extra triple shots. Then, with those eggs, I traded for a woodcutter's weekly and the 10 mystery boxes on offer. I couldn't go back for the last day of the festival the following morning until I got in my Wednesday trawler trip. If I remembered to go check the GPS, I'd have got even more, but 318 fish is still a great haul, even if most of the catches were not hugely valuable. A lot of these aren't even worth spending the coal on for the smoker. Most trips now, I come home with another flag. A lot of them are just dupes of what we already have, so I'll only show you the new ones from now on. I left the catches in a chest on the pier, so I could warp off to the desert. I had another sour salad for lunch, and this time I came geared up with a few more brain cells to answer the rest of the questions correctly, except this third one which was just a very lucky guess. But there we go. 50 more eggs. Clint set up a store today, so I dumped as many eggs as I could on him in exchange for his coal. Then my last outfit of the festival had me cosplaying as a slime. A squid slime, that is. Instead of diving into skull cabins again, I found myself fishing for the day at the pond here. Willie lost his golden bobber, and what kind of wife would I be if I didn't help him try and get it back? Well, I did give up after I failed to catch a scorpion carp, but I was here the whole afternoon with no luck. Plus, I wanted to leave enough time in the day to go to the secret woods for the hardwood. I fished on the farm for the start of day 130. I was really hoping to catch the rare white sturgeon, but it didn't bite before it went into hiding at midday. I moved on to the sewers to catch the mutant carp, which advanced me to the next mastery level, but I took a detour into the mutant bug lair to catch a slime jack before re-entering the cave to pick my next mastery. I was feeling combat this time because I was really missing the trinkets, but in hindsight, I do regret not picking farming here, and you'll see why later. I dropped off more supplies to the raccoons who returned the favour with some fairy dust, then handled my frequent hardwood collection and rounded off the night with a hops harvest for the XP. On day 131, I replanted any ripe crops with spring forage seeds because amongst those were my first rhubarbs, another shipping item off the list. To knock off another huge task, I hauled a backpack full of colourful items to the walnut room to put together the prismatic range. I had loads of stuff to spare since I can't really sell most of it. I spent my key gems on the hopper recipe in the hopes to make some of my home production more efficient, though I kind of forgot I haven't had access to radioactive oil yet, so this was a bit of a premature purchase. I boated back to the valley to pack up Wednesday's fish to bring home. Kind of a struggle with an overflowing backpack though, but I made it work. Most of it went straight for shipping, unless it would benefit me to sashimi at first, and even though there weren't many fish to put in the smoker this time, I still thought it helpful to mine for coal at the quarry for the future, plus it makes room for more to spawn. Day 132 was a Saturday. That means it's time for a tropical trawler fish. Yes, I remembered. It felt less like a boat and more like a struggle bus this day. I was not having a good time keeping this thing fueled and afloat, but we still safely brought back 351 fish. After handing out a few gifts at the resort, I carried on with this around town, and what's this fish doing out of water? Oh, it's Abigail. What happened? Was it the wizard? I mean, she doesn't seem to be too fussed, so good for her, I guess. Still enjoys sashimi though, which is kinda weird. Anyway, the gifting did take the rest of the day, and I cleared a couple of journal quests along the way too. The strawberries were ready on day 133, and I think by now, I've more than made up for forgetting to buy any last year. After a visit to the desert trader for the Sunday staircases, I went for a shopping spree at the bookseller to buy all the books I haven't read yet, except the price catalogue. I wasn't feeling that one because I already get the prices from UI Info Suite, though I might come back for it another day. I was feeling some fishing at the mountain lake for a while because Demetrius had a ticket up for grabs if I could catch a couple of largemouth bass. With that, I only got a stupid cow sticker, but we got to move that price line up along. Then I headed home for my evening farm fishing. A good night's sleep refreshed me to fish with my rod again the next day. I was back trying to catch the rare white sturgeon. It continued to evade me today, and by that point in the day, the next batch of roe had aged. I'm beginning to pile up the fish eggs, so it was about time I make some more preserves jars to attempt getting through it all. I had some really good news when I went to pick up the week's key quest. I had another chance for the extended family quest. I wasn't going to pass this up a second week in a row. The day was disappearing on me, so I made haste to the mountain lake to try and catch the legend too, and actually as many as I possibly could. Looking back now, what I really should have done was come back and accepted the quest first thing in the morning, because this key quest only lasts 3 days, and I've basically wasted most of this first one. After a few hours of not finding the prized fish at all, I wanted to have a go with my trident. I was surprised to get a hold of it quite quickly. Only basic quality, so worth a little bit less, but still a lot of money, though this isn't a shortcut through the quest. You do still have to catch it with your rod. That was the only one I got all night, so I chose to turn it into Legend 2 bait to at least slightly increase my chances to catch it for real. I restocked on trap and cork bubbles on day 135, and sought out some fishing food from my chest to help me. I also brought my bait maker with me in case I wanted to make some more here, and a few fish later, I finally got it on the line. The catch was mildly irritating, but it could have been worse, and rather than move on to the other fish for the quest, I did not move from this spot all day with the aim to catch as many as I could for cash. Once smoked, that's a lot of profit. I only caught one more of them when I ran out of targeted bait, so I switched back to deluxe bait because it didn't feel worth sacrificing such a pricey fish for a small increase in chances. I was catching a decent amount of them without the targeted bait anyway. I wanted to get my bait maker out of the way to prevent a potential mishap, but it kind of fell in the water. Can't really dwell on that right now though, I got more legends to catch. Staying way past midnight, I caught and smoked 8 of them. I really wanted to run back and ship them all before bed, but I really should have just carried on fishing because I passed out right outside my house anyway. I dumped them in there first thing when I woke up though. 8 gold smoked legend 2s, that'll be over 250 grand please. I thought going back for more would be way more valuable than fishing on the trawler today, but I completely forgot that it was also the flower dance. I figured I had a bit more time before I needed to make my way over there, and staying as long as I could meant I caught 2 more. I would have just ignored the festival, but I couldn't remember if I bought the rare crow, and I really wanted to be able to dance with Willy this year. See Willy? That body can be for both fishing and dancing, even if I am very off with the timings. Oh my goodness. Despite not getting any key gems from the quest this week, it was still more than worth it, because along with a few other smoked fish, those 10 smoked legend 2s made us well over 300 grand richer. That allowed me to build my first obelisk on day 137, the beach obelisk to help me get both to Ginger Island and Murphy quicker when I need to. I finished rearranging stuff for that obelisk when I got home. Then I took a break from the fishing today for some monster hunting in the mines. I gotta work through all those monster slayer goals, but I was really hoping that one of them will drop the last dwarf scroll I need, because that's gonna be an entire friendship I gotta fill with whatever ends up being left of the year. This is where I got my first trinket, a green frog egg. It would be nice to have a little friend to accompany me down here. Given that it's only a 0.1% chance to drop that dwarf scroll, safe to say, I didn't get it today. The forage grew in on day 138, and the links here were the last I needed to complete the Gifts for George special request. I already dropped them off at Evelyn's kitchen some time ago, I just had to pick them. I was on a bit of a roll with quests this morning because I took more stuff to the raccoons who gave me a very special fish tank, and I had some ectoplasm for the wizard from my time in the mines yesterday. I found my second morel in the secret woods on my way to Marnie's, where I bought 2 auto grabbers so I don't have to deal with the animal products anymore, and I also got the animal catalogue in case I need more things from her when she's inconveniently away. I then gifted Pierre a rabbit's foot for his birthday to finish his friendship, and by the time I got done tidying up my backpack, it was turning evening, which was then spent chopping down wood both at home and in Cindersap Forest too. As I passed the sewer entrance, I made sure Krobus got a fresh horseradish, and bought a void egg to hatch as well. I'm gonna need a few of these for shipping and cooking. There was another birthday on day 139, Emily's this time, which meant another friendship complete. I was then ready for my next shift on the trawler, which will set off from Ginger Island, where Maru was conveniently taking the day off so I could deliver her a carp to power her next invention. I'm not gonna ask any questions. I had a bit of a better handle on things on the boat today, which meant we brought in 366 fish. Still not a huge amount for the smoker, but it is still a decent boost in income. I did a lap of the island farm to clear off the weeds and finally dug up a snake vertebrae. My second actually, so that's another few golden walnuts for me. Now, the only piece left of the tent is just a mummified bat, which I'll handle another day. But the cherry on top for this day was getting a dish of the sea from Willy when I got home to make some sashimi before bed. Day 140 began with placing a couple of mini obelisks, one within easy reach of the house, and the other on this little island down here because, I'll be honest, this lava eel pond has gone pretty neglected because it's quite a trek to make down here every single morning. I was then back in the mines for the day, determined to find that 4th dwarf scroll, but it looks like neither that determination nor the monster mask I was wearing were enough, though I did get a whole load of coal, and literally every other dwarf scroll. Go figure. Not quite the end to the season I was hoping for. Just your average first morning of the season on day 141, clearing dead crops and planting some new ones, even if significantly less than usual. Still had to grab a small assortment of seeds from Pierre's, and of course some starfruit from Sandy, and it was a good opportunity to top up on moss while I was out there. With the mini obelisks in place, I asked Robin to construct my next fish pond to keep the other one down here company. I got a couple of gifts out on my way home, where I made another 4 recycling machines so I can get through this trash that's been piling up at double the rate. Then I was straight back out again to bring more gifts, as well as a pufferfish George had asked for. He didn't have a ticket for me, but there were 2 waiting for me in town from those last special requests. The Omni Geodes are great, but I couldn't care less about the kegs. I was just about to plant a load of hardwood trees for future worm bins when I was notified of a super cucumber frenzy at the beach. I dropped everything I was doing. I had to get in on that, and I caught 11 of them by the time it was over. Perfect for the smoker. I continued the beach fishing on day 142 until I caught my first octopus. Even in my fishing era, I still hate this thing. I ferried over to the island from there to assign myself the next key quest. I wasn't hopeful about either of these, but let's hope I can find 4 prizzies before the end of the season. Keys crop is just way too much a gardening commitment. I was a bit worried about how much money I needed to make over the next 3 seasons, so for today, I remade my bait maker and bought out a couple of radioactive sunfish from their pond to turn into specific bait. On the farm, it raised the probability from 1% to 5%, which are still rubbish odds. I was going to go fish for them in Cindersat Forest instead, where there's less variety, which should mean better chances, but the bridge down here had broken and I just wasn't feeling up for carpentry today. I just switched back to the deluxe bait to fish on the farm for the rest of the day. Horrid weather for day 143, but that didn't stop me on my mission to catch as many radioactive sunfish as I could. 14% in the forest, much better odds, and I literally hooked one for my first fish of the day. That being said, I did only find 3 of them when I ran out of bait, and I sacrificed 2 fish to get them, so this really didn't feel worth it. I didn't forget about my Wednesday trawler trip, but because I was late to the GPS, we got our lowest score for a few attempts here of 284 fish, and the catches weren't amazing either, other than a handful of them. I dropped them all off at home to make room to fish back out at the beach for the rest of the evening. I needed more super cucumbers, since I wasn't happy with the amount of gold I got from the trawler today. Still made over 50 grand though. Leah came to give me some elaborately shaped driftwood first thing on day 144. It won't exactly fit in my recycling machines, so I thought the wild fish on the farm might enjoy it as an ornament. Except the thing floats. Or it's some kind of sorcery. I don't know. I just shoved it behind the obelisk for now. Jazz got a fairy rose for her birthday before a quick stop off at the beach to catch a tuna for Abigail. A fish for a fish. A new friend perhaps? I got a ticket for that, which got me 5 more diamonds. Then I went back home to make some super cucumber bait. I should probably make the most of the season for this profitable fish. They don't appear till the evening though, so I just used deluxe bait until it was time. With 6 out of the 10 catches from the first lot of targeted bait actually being what I wanted, this stuff is much more worthwhile, so I'll definitely be making more. My first void chicken hatched on day 145. I wanted to go with a fish that looks like it has a beak, and this totally sounds made up, but welcome half beak. I needed to go into the coop anyway to collect eggs for Gus's omelette. I already dropped off some older eggs on a previous day. This afternoon was for volcano activities. There was still loot and golden walnuts to be found. The dwarf dagger there did make its way into my backpack, don't worry. I just didn't really want it. I will take a deluxe pirate's hat though. It goes really well with this outfit. I was also hoping to find the mummified bat in here, and I got lucky with it that evening. This is going kinda well for a bad luck day. 3 treasure chests before floor 5 is awesome, even if this one was just a soul sapper ring. I made my exit on floor 5 with the shortcut I'd just built, so I could get that final fossil to the professor today with his tent now at completion. I will eventually have to make this for perfection, but I wasn't too fussed about the ostrich incubator recipe. I mainly did it for the last walnut from this place. On day 146, I used all my iron to make 10 more crab pots for the farm, slowly completing this line of them from one side to the other. Leah got a gift on Ginger Island, which I was visiting for the Chaos boat trip. I did quite a bit better this time with 378 fish in the net, and 50 of them were pufferfish. That is more like it. One of the pufferfish was reserved for Demetrius for his mail quest, then it was off to the witch swamp for a bit to catch the void salmon. Oh, and I don't think I've mentioned this since I got the advanced rod, but the fishing info overlay is here to stay without the sonar bobbers anymore. I think it's a nice way to add a perk to this more advanced rod. After that first catch, I tried to use my trident to grab more void salmons, bagging a few more by the time I was almost out of energy. On day 147, I had another mastery reward to claim. I went for foraging this time. Yep, still not farming, but I couldn't resist the allure of the golden mystery box. At the desert, I went through my caverning supplies trade and cut down a portion of the trees here. Not all of them though, because I want to leave some to grow moss. It was dark when I returned to the valley, but before bed, I wanted to drop off the items I'd stored for the missing bundle. 3 of the 5 for now, and fingers crossed I can get the rest soon. An orange for Gus's birthday finished his friendship on day 148, and that pufferfish in my hotbar? That's for a request for Caroline, and I had another important job to do for her on Ginger Island too. Taro planting. Lots and lots of taro planting. This is definitely my preferred version of island ingredients. It's just so much easier to get these seeds. Checking on the walnut room, I did not get another chance at the extra legendary fish just yet, but I went for Skull Cavern Invasion here, because then I can try for some radioactive ore. Back on the home farm, I planted and fertilized a couple of mystic trees which I'll need the syrup from later, and popping into the greenhouse, I noticed my tropical trees were bearing their first fruit, so I got straight back on that boat to deliver one of the bananas to the gorilla on Ginger Island, who paid me with a few more walnuts. The next morning, I fished a bit of the mountain lake because I seemed to be lacking any sturgeons at all at home. I plucked up a couple with my trident to turn them both into sturgeon bait, then got back out there to catch some more, and with a quality bobber to aid me, I got a few iridium ones. I gotta get more of these to put in the smoker, but obviously I gotta catch them with my rod to get ones of that higher quality. I left when the sturgeons went to sleep for the day and handed some more gifts to the raccoons who gave me another star drop tea. On day 150, I had to deal with some debris invading my pass. I guess I forgot about this area at the start of the season again, but the damage wasn't too hard to repair. I bought a load of ingredients for the future mass cooking sesh en route to the trawler for this day's adventure. I was a little bit upset at the value of fish I've been recently receiving, so I swapped the flag back to the mermaid's blessing. Maybe some of the other loot can cheer me up on that front. It felt so wrong at this point without every single hole causing a leak, and I periodically found myself waiting around for the next thing to go wrong. So weird. Borderline uncomfortable actually. We ended this trip with 144 fish in the nets, so our other favourite flag isn't exactly quadruple, but anyway, checking the loot and stuff, I was not impressed. Mostly low value fish, an offensive amount of seaweed, and the loot items, mostly pocket change. Kinda regret that decision. I managed to get a birthday gift to Maru before it got too late, and fit in a few more gifts at the saloon as well. Still got 50-ish grand overnight despite the disappointing boat trip. Then day 151 was much more chill because we had the luau to attend. Everyone here got a quick hello, and the soup pot got an iridium sturgeon, though I probably should have used a gold one here because the governor would have approved either way. On day 152, I realised a flaw in my obelisk placement. Sometimes I teleport when I'm just trying to refill my crab pots. I wasn't carrying a farm totem, so to prevent this being just a walk of shame, I visited the bookseller to give this trip some purpose. I bought the 3 skill-based books here to give me XP towards the next mastery level, and I did go ahead and grab the price catalogue this time because I might as well just add it to the collection. After finishing the interrupted farm chores, I walked to the beach, intentionally this time, where I found Hayley stressed about having lost her bracelet. There's treasure on the ground? I had a look around to see if I could find it, and it was just behind Elliot's house out of view. I grabbed the shiny and skipped the rest of the cutscene. It's mine now. Looks like Hayley's forgotten about it already anyway. I wanted to fish down here, first topping up on bobbers from Willie's shop. I then caught my first moray eel from the Fish of Stardew mod. Gold ones are worth more than 1100 gold. Even more reason to be here in the summer before the super cucumber wakes up for the evenings. There was another new fish down here, but this thing was able to outsmart me today. Multiple times. I did bring some super cucumber bait with me today, but I didn't end up using it because most of the other catches in the evening I'd have been happy with too, and this afternoon and evening of fishing brought in 21,000 gold. The crab pots caused me more pain on day 153. Not sure what happened, but I managed to walk on top of them here and got stuck. It was a good thing I was carrying a farm totem this time, or I'd probably have to pass out. I had it on me to prevent what happened yesterday. This does happen to me more than once during this recording session, but after restarting my game the next time, it was fine again. I brought Alex a birthday breakfast before meeting Murphy on Ginger Island for the next shift on the trawler. I did forget to bring the Jolly Roger flag to swap out though, so I braced myself for a rubbish haul. Of the 149 fish we brought back, I was happy with the 19 pufferfish and the 4 moray eels, but the rest mostly sucked. I need my other flag back as soon as possible, but this is still a good few for the smoker. While some of those processed, I picked the red cabbage, which I swapped out for forage seeds. I don't really need them, they just filled the space. For the other crops, flower seeds went in their place. I did save one of those moray eels for Willie as well. He's been asking about these for about a year. Probably shouldn't have given it to him this late though. Looks like we're sharing our bed with this eel. Gross. I did some trident fishing at the beach for some of the next day. My hope was to pick up a reef shark. That's the fish we failed to catch a couple of days ago. I wanted to do this to turn it into bait and catch it for real, and then I saw how much they're worth. 1200 for a basic one? I need more. And to help with that, I asked Robin to build another fish pond. Not sure if I've said this yet, but I'm probably going to prioritize the modded fish for the fish ponds, just as something fun to have on the farm. I did want to add it to the bottom row, but I'll have to clear the trees here first, so it's getting a temporary spot for now. I suddenly remembered what day it was that evening. It's Sunday, and I have a key quest to do. I don't know what came over me in this moment. I should have just accepted defeat, but nope. I went straight into Skull Caverns to attempt it. It's the Skull Cavern invasion, by the way, and it's almost 7 PM. How am I going to get through 100 floors in this time? It sucked to have to ignore the multiple prehistoric floors for the Pepperex kills too. But the worst part, I ran out of staircases and passed out for the night on floor 99. I almost did it. The word gutted doesn't even begin to cover it. Day 155 was the green rainy day. It probably helped grow these mystic trees, so now they're ready for their tappers. Given that we only see this day once a year, I solely focused on the weather-dependent activities like cutting through the enormous amount of weeds and scraping up every last bit of moss I can get my hands on. That number happens to be 246. Over 600 fiber will be a great help too. On day 156, I wanted to catch the reef shark with my rod, but I failed again, so I'll come back later with some fishing food. I had something better to do today anyway, because all that taro was ready for harvest on Ginger Island for Caroline, and I got some golden walnuts from them too. Another week is going by without the extended family key quest again, so I'll be picking Key's cuisine. I'm quite desperate for the key gems now, and to fit this in with our fishing themed run, I'll be focusing on selling as many fish containing dishes as possible, stuff like algae too. I had hundreds of fish I was willing to chop into sashimi, so we'll see how much of a dent this makes into the 100 grand overnight. It's also a good opportunity to get a few first cooks completed for the gourmet chef achievement, several of which use the modded fish, so that's kind of fun. Once I was through with the cooking sesh, I chopped the stumps in the secret woods, as well as some regular trees on the farm which also drop hardwood because I had the hardwood request for Robin. I dropped off what I had for now and gathered the last of the fresh stuff right outside. A nice easy quest completion. Going to sleep, I saw we got over 60% through that key quest, but we'll do the rest another time because the next day I had a new mod to check out. This is the automatic to-do list mod. It gives you a daily task list and even gives you the numbers for some of them. Here's the list of things you can configure for it, but I would mainly have been interested in things like reminders for the fish ponds, and there is an option for things like machines, but with this farm having a much different focus, I don't want to know about every type of machine. Because of this, I do end up turning the mod off quite soon because it'll annoy me if I leave things left on that to-do list. I do think it would have bothered me less if it were text on a transparent background, but it's a whole box that I didn't necessarily want there all the time, and even when you've done the task, it crosses it through rather than having it disappear. I can see this being a super useful mod, but not for me on this specific farm. Anyway, it's trawler time again, and I swapped that flag back before getting on the boat. We're back to the extra chaotic mode, and all was right in the world again. Murphy and I came back with 332 fish, and only fish this time. Well, except the 137 seaweed, oh my goodness that sucks. But I don't want the extra junk from the other flag, so this'll do. Coming back through town, there were 2 prize tickets waiting for me. A Stardrop tea and a magic rock candy? That is a winning combo. Once I dropped the big fishing haul home, I returned to the beach with some fish stew. Seems to be just what I needed to successfully catch the reef shark with my fishing rod. On my last piece of shark bait too. On day 158, I made another 9 deluxe worm bins. With this amount of crab pots, my daily supply wasn't contributing much to the amount of bait I want to fish with. This is probably gonna do though, kinda struggling for space now. I was low on coal from all the recently smoked fish, so I spent this day in the mines gathering more, some of which I got from void spirits and slimes because I might as well push for more monster slayer goals. I also wanted some of that coal to make some more preserves jars on day 159. I got back on with some more cooking for a while, including some rice pudding for my blobfish. With cooking still being on my mind though, I walked to the desert to obtain some cheese from the trader. I can always just eat them if I have too many, or use them as gifts, and it put some of these emeralds I've mined up to good use. I then cut down all the wood in the desert on this side of the road and replanted as many trees as I could. On day 160, I ignored the Trout Derby and hopped on the trawler with Murphy. I'm not so fussed anymore about the prizes from that event. We got a fill last year, and I'd rather be 332 fish richer, even if they mostly weren't that good this time either. At least a lot of them could go into sashimi for the key quest, I suppose. I then spent the rest of the day getting in some last minute gifts for the final day of the gifting week. Even the raccoons were part of this gift spree, and from them, I got another Stardrop tea to help me. On day 161, I made a few more dishes to hopefully finish off the key quest. Only 6 grand away now, I got this. I got Clint to open the various things I'd accumulated, and only got one new thing for the museum, but the reward for it was a crystallarium, something actually worth taking with me. The rest of this summer's day was another fishing at the beach, and I didn't bring the smokers with me this time because the smoked fish take up extra backpack slots, which are already a struggle as it is. More key gems came in that night because we did, in fact, finish the key quest. I went a bit overboard with the 20 grand of cooked dishes, but it's still money we'll need later anyway. I gave a few gifts out to begin day 162 and got a few more friendships completed. The extended family quest was finally on the board again. I debated for a second on if I should go for Danger in the Deep for easy access to radioactive ore, but I just can't say no to these fish. Instead of taking full advantage of the fish's fleeting appearance, I brought a gift to the wizard, fished on the farm for a while, then had an evening of monster slaying in the mines. I was really hoping for the final dwarf scroll, which I didn't get tonight. On day 163, I did a little fishing tour of the valley to catch those second legendaries, but popped to the island around lunchtime because Gus finally decided to make his way to the beach resort for me to buy the tropical curry recipe and a gold star mango wine. The cooking recipe was important, but the wine meant I could now complete the missing bundle so the cinema can be built. I continued my fishing tour with a few stops to go, but I wasn't able to hook the legend 2 before the night was over. I had to save a bit of time to come back later and collect the overflow from my backpack. Before trying for the legend 2 again, I got on the trawler nice and early on day 164. 348 fish later we returned to shore, and because the key quest is still active, 12 of them were Sons of Crimson fish. Those are going to be just the boost we need. It was then back out to the mountain lake to catch the legend 2 for the key quest, which came with a bonus book and a Stardrop tea. With that task off the list, I rushed over to the mines to make some monster musk and keep searching for that final dwarf scroll. I think this is the longest it's ever taken for me. Didn't find it today either. Thanks to loads of valuable smoked fish, we shipped off almost 200 grand of stuff overnight. Quite a lot of other things in there too, but none brought in the kind of numbers like the smoked legendaries did. A bit of that gold went on a load of wheat seeds from Pierre the next day, as well as the XP books from the bookseller for a little push towards the next mastery level, which, speaking of, I was overdue claiming another reward. It may have taken me till the second to last choice here, but I finally remembered about the value of the golden animal crackers, so this time I picked farming. It's going to take me time to find these rare snacks, but if I feed them to the fish ponds, it will double their output, and now you'll understand why I really should have picked this earlier. When I got back to the farm, I handled all the crops here. Anything not regrowable got replaced with those wheat seeds to hold the sprinkler spots into the next season with something harvestable. The afternoon was filled with gifting, then I stopped in at the walnut room that evening to trade up spare walnuts and spend my key gems on a couple more crafting recipes. It was then a long old trek to the wizards to move that fish pond to its permanent spot and get the desert obelisk built. I went to see Leo for his birthday on day 166. I thought this mango would pair nicely with the Stardrop tea at a huge gain of about 9 hearts, more than enough for Willie, Linus and I to convince him to move to the valley and have some other friends his age. That's all the time away from the mines I could afford for now. I had to obsess over that dwarf scroll if I wanted any hope of completing an entirely new friendship before the end of the year. In fact, I checked the Monster Slayer goals on day 167 to channel my focus into multiple tasks. There aren't many monsters this dwarf scroll can't drop from, so I might as well work through these in the process. I even skipped the trawler today to hit the bat goal and made progress on the duggies and the rock crabs. Then on day 168, I switched it up by taking aim at skull caverns instead. Plus, this was the last day I had to gather prismatic shards for Mr. Key as well. I left that afternoon because I still had to bring them to the box in the walnut room, but when I tried to use the beach obelisk to get to the boat, I completely forgot it would be inaccessible due to the moonlight jellies tonight. This does mean I left Skull Cavern super early for literally no reason, so in an attempt to make good use of the time, I picked up my copper hoe from Clint and attempted to dig for the dwarf scroll in the mines instead. This didn't last long, that proved to be far too tedious for me. I gave up on it for the night and took a break at the night's festival. I bought the seafoam pudding in case I needed it later, and gave myself a breather while staring off into the sea. I didn't just go to bed afterwards though. With the festival over, I could now get on the boat to Ginger Island and drop off the 4 prizzies just in the nick of time. Had to crash on the island farm though so as not to pass out. Waking up on Ginger Island, not exactly the normal start to the season, but I might as well grab the next key quest whilst I'm here. I had too many other plans for the expensive fish this week, and I need a lot more key gems, so I picked the Hungry Challenge. Then, after chopping all the island's hardwood, I made the journey home to sort out the season's crops. I did a similar thing to the last 2 seasons. You know the drill. I filled up the sprinkler spots, then repaired the recently fallen bridges, and added a few more crab pots to the collection. I enjoyed a morning stroll around Cindersap Forest on day 170 to see if I could locate any more new fish. I didn't find any today, but the fresh autumn breeze was nice because I was down in the mines again for the afternoon with a cave patrol quest to help me with my dwarf scroll motivation. Grubs are super easy to deal with anyway, so I might as well get the extra 6 grand out of this miserable task. I stuck around those floors thinking that maybe getting through lots of easy kills might increase my chances, and I guess it helped because that 4th scroll finally dropped for me that night. I wasted no time at all in getting it donated, so I could learn the entire Dwarvish language in less than a second. I then blasted through that rock so I could make my long-awaited introduction with a gift. Didn't forget the shop here either. I bought the Dwarvish safety manual to reduce bomb damage, as well as the path recipe and the rare crow. I'm so glad this grind is over. I celebrated with Murphy on the Dawn Shard the next day, and came back with 360 half-decent catches. I shared my joy with some of the villagers by handing out a variety of gifts to those who still need friendship points, which occupied the remainder of the day. On day 172, I made a couple more fish smokers to get through more of these smoked fish at a bit of a better pace. You might have thought I was done with the mines for a while, but here I put myself through a volcano day. I had even more monsters to slay, dragon teeth to find, and a dwarf to shop from. There are a couple of recipes here I've been waiting for. I did push up to the top late that night, but all that was waiting for me on floor 9 was another soul sapper ring. These things haunt me in every timeline. Day 173, I played Delivery Woman, finishing friendships with Leo, Elliot, and Jazz. I asked Robin to build my 12th fish pond as I passed her shop, and once the gift handouts were done, I asked if the dwarf wanted to come see a movie. The flashing lights and a Stardrop sorbet looked to be a winning combo to earn some extra friendship. On day 174, I had more gifts to hand out for the raccoons, some veggies for their ever-growing family, and in return, I got another Stardrop tea. Clearly they know I'm worried about some of the friendships. Haley needed a void salmon for something girl-related, I don't know. Then it was time for my island trawler trip with Murphy. I did similarly to a lot of this year's trips and brought in 366 fish, but this time I also got Murphy's fishing charm. At first glance, I thought it was a bobber, but actually it's more like a reusable warp totem that will take me straight to Murphy when he's on the beach pier or here on the island. I stayed on the island for this day for another volcano sesh for various reasons like materials and magma sprite slaying, and the Prizzy here was a nice surprise gift. Day 175 began in the desert where I dug up the strange doll here, collected any moss that had grown, and topped up on staircases. Before taking the doll under Prizzy to the museum, I made sure to dig up its sibling in town so they could be displayed together. My reward for that was a magic rock candy. Then I brought Demetrius a largemouth bass for another reward of a prize ticket. Just an iridium sprinkler, but it revealed some mystery boxes coming up later. I brought the dwarf a gem to kick off the new gifting week before purchasing a workbench from Robin to brace myself for the Craftmaster achievement. The item I'm most worried about here is this Statue of Blessings, which requires 333 moss, and unfortunately I've blasted through so much of the stuff making those deluxe worm bins. I needed an outlet for my anxiety somewhere, so I took a long old run around Cindersap Forest and by every tree in town on a desperate hunt for moss. The dig site treated me well on day 176 because I was here for a palm fossil and that's what I got, though I was also here to gather bone frags for Gunther. I did another run of the volcano on this day. I still need dragon's teeth, walnuts and magma sprite kills, and as usual I was hopeful for some exciting loot which I definitely didn't get. On day 177 I opened all the golden mystery boxes I'd accumulated and immediately read any books for the XP they had for me. I dropped off the bone frags at the museum along with a palm fossil, then collected a prize ticket for Gunther's special request. I inserted it in the machine just to get the stupid plant out of the way. Then, for the rest of the day, I fished at the town river, a spot I don't tend to use so often. Got another animal cracker from it too. I got straight on the trawler the following morning, which was being more unruly than usual. Still brought in 358 fish, and with 70 of them being super cucumbers, it was more than worth the effort. I fished on the farm for the rest of this day so I could process them in the smokers. I didn't get through all of them today, but it still meant we gained 100 grand overnight. Day 179. For the morning, I chipped away at the gift grind, then fished on the farm again whilst cooking up the catches because there was another new rare fish in the lineup which I didn't get this day. That wasn't the only one though. I poked through a ghost pike that night which I intend to turn into bait to fish it up for real, and after midnight there appeared yet another extremely rare mod fish. Once I caught the ghost pike with my rod, I managed to find the new fish with my trident, the lunar salmon. Look at the price of this thing, even at basic quality. No wonder it's so rare. But again, I'll want to turn this into bait to catch with my rod. On day 180, I plotted one of those lunar salmons in a fish pond. Seeing as they're so rare, having a supply to make bait from would probably be a good idea. It's a good thing I'd saved a few super cucumbers because Harvey was after one for some reason. Then I took a few bumps to the quarry to clear the place out for a restock of coal. I farm fished yet again and caught the last mystery fish of the season, a mossy cod, or two actually, and you know the drill. I'll make bait with one of them to go for the real catch. It didn't take long to get it to bite, and my goodness was it a fighter, but I won, I caught it. The lunar salmon though, with the few bait that I had, I mostly reeled in trash, and it did hook very late that night, but the one time it appeared, I lost it, so I'll have to keep trying. On day 181, I bought some more cooking ingredients from Pierre's box before running off to Ginger Island because I remembered that I left some fish here from a previous trip with Murphy. Most of what I was after here were the crabs, so I can make a supply of crab cakes. One of these will give an all-day speed boost, so I don't even have to carry them around. Forgetting that I had an instant teleport to Murphy, I ran all the way down to the boat and paid for a ticket there. The extra cost wasn't so bad though when 46 of the 320 fish were pufferfish. Some truffle oil became ready for me whilst I was sorting out the catches, but instead of going into the shipping bin, I took it straight to Lewis for his creepy mail quest. I took my payment without asking any questions, then had another late night of fishing in Cindersap Forest this time. Day 182 started with the usual Sunday desert trading before taking all those goodies for a mining day because it was the last day for the Skull Cavern invasion quest this week. I was hunting for the radioactive ore in here, but I wasn't going to say no to a prismatic frog egg. As much as I'd like the company of a shiny frog friend, I think the fairy box was the wiser choice for today. This might not be the one life challenge, but I still don't want to die. I took out some of the mummies towards the Monster Slayer goal and reached floor 100 that night, getting an auto grabber I don't need. Before the night was up, I blasted through enough mummies to finish that Monster Slayer goal, then passed out on floor 129. No loot review in this timeline because we don't really care about mining, but I did get 51 radioactive ore, and I'm hoping that's all I'll need. On day 183, I felt like replanting some crops with whatever seeds I had on hand. I popped my head in at the Wizard's Tower to say hello and complete that friendship, then collected all the moss on my way to the Mastery Cave to activate the final mastery in mining. I crossed that milestone yesterday in Skull Cabins, but now we've got them all, and my last actual reward is a slight haunting from my grandpa. Lovely. I got back on with some gifting and took the dwarf to the theatre again, then headed to the walnut room for this week's key quest. Still no fishing one yet again, so I picked Danger in the Deep. Not sure if I'm going to do it yet though. I now had more walnuts to exchange for gems, and with those, I bought the last crafting recipe in here and a deconstructor ready for the crafting achievement. I did a quick perfection check whilst I was in there too. Just over halfway there as you can see, but this reminded me I was missing a certain shipping item, so I emptied my ice pit pond and reset it for a sturgeon. Seems I was missing the caviar. Now we wait. On day 184, I started cutting this area of wood for Robin's resource rush till I was reminded about the Stardew Valley fair. I rushed over there a little bit flustered to piece together my Grange display, which was more than good enough for a win, and this time I'm gonna get all the tokens I need. No rage quitting, I promise. I was a lot more cautious with the wheel this time, and used it to top up my tokens till I had 4,000 of them. I could then buy the rare crow, the prize ticket, and the star drop. I'm gonna pretend that's not what I taste, and that's everything I need from here, so I'm out. The next morning was for a trawler trip, gaining another 384 catches. Back to fish I mostly don't consider good enough for the smoker. I shipped those off, then handled Robin's resource rush, which I finished that evening in Cindersap Forest. I was glad I didn't need to take out too many trees out here, because I was still in need of moss, and once I exhausted the forest of its supply, I gathered what I could find in the desert. On day 186, I accidentally walked to the beach again for the first time in a while, but I suppose it gave me a chance to get the prize from Robin's request from the machine. The raccoons were in need of more veggie goods again, and my gift from them this time was some fairy dust. Back on the farm, I made a hopper to set up with my deconstructor, then got started on the craft everything achievement. This was a good way to get a list together of any crafting materials I was missing, and yep, once again, I'm missing the garlic for the oil of garlic. It's embarrassing really for someone who loves garlic so much. A lot of the seeds I was going to need are out of season, so I'll have to figure out getting Pierre's missing stock list at some point. I hid those from my list to handle at a later date. I mostly did what I could by the evening, so I made use of my new mini forge to merge a couple of rings, and enchant my advanced rod. I was hoping for the master enchant, but I didn't get it after using both of my prizzies. I then dropped a gift to the dwarf at the mines. I was up there hoping to farm for the monster drops and gold I needed to craft with, but I forgot that the Danger of the Deep quest resets the elevator floors, and I really don't feel like tackling that one. Instead, I moved over to the quarry and went through the caves there to grab some more coal. Plus the skellies in here are another source of the bone frags I needed. On day 187, I continued the bone frag gathering at the dig site this time. Much easier over here. I cleared the whole place out so I could use the treasure totem I made. Can't remember what it was I wanted from these, but I'm betting it's artifact troves and geodes for the museum. I did want to get those mystery boxes open, but I forgot that it's Friday, so Clint's not there. To make for a productive change of plans, I went volcanoing. I still need the same stuff as before, except, as you can tell by this journal scrap, I still have more of these to find, and one of the last ones has an unfound golden walnut and an ostrich egg. Another animal cracker for the fish ponds was nice too, but not much else in the way of exciting loot here today. On day 188, I obtained the desert totem crafting recipe from the desert trader. I often forget about this one till late. I grabbed any newly grown moss here before using that special fishing bobber to teleport straight to Murphy on Ginger Island, ready for our rainy fishing afternoon. We caught 388 fish in that weather, and over 100 of them were crimson snappers. A winning result, especially as smoked fish. Got a brand new flag this time as well, the shark fin, which extends the trip by another minute. If only we could fly 2 flags. I was going to give this one a go, but an extra minute still won't give us as many fish as the Jolly Roger does. My plan was to spend the evening fishing on the farm while smoking those crimson snappers, but I kinda turned them all into sashimi like a dingus. Even more reason to top up on fish for the smoker. On day 189, I plucked up a white sturgeon from the farm waters. It was a nice surprise. I want to turn one into bait too, but I'll do this another day. After another forest moss hunt, I grabbed the Sunday staircases in case I needed them, and took the new moss growth with me, then carried on looking for more through town. Clearly I'm still worried about being able to craft that statue this year. Whilst I only got a handful of moss today, I did get a prizzy from a mystic stone at the quarry which I used to forge my fishing rod again and got the master enchant I was hoping for. I still had enough cinder shards from that to forge 3 galaxy swords to my galaxy sword that I got from slimes during those Skull Caverns quests. The eagle-eyed amongst you might have spotted them already in my backpack on earlier days, and now I have the infinity blade. I still had more weapon-related plans though, so on day 190, I headed to floor 100 of the mines and dumped an ancient doll into the water. Some skeletal monstrosity emerged from it and chucked me a faraway stone, which I brought to the wizard's basement to put on this branch. It started to move of its own accord, and then a portal spawned. Ah, Terraria, how I miss you. A cat approached me and left me with a gift, the Meowmere. What a weapon that is. In Terraria, I mean. In Stardew, it's not that great. I exited the basement via the witch hut to trident fish for more void salmon, then brought home my weapons to merge them so I can have the look of the Meowmere whilst retaining the power of the infinity blade. Apparently changing the looks of weapons has been a thing since 1.5, and I had no idea this whole time. Either way, I'm excited about it. It was finally time to do the extended family quest again, and by do the quest, what I really mean is 3 whole days of this. I caught 10 of them the first 2 days, and this is just some of the money gained from them, but before resuming the legend fishing on day 192, I wanted to stick to my trawler duties first. I was hoping to find some Sons of Crimson fish in the net, but of 372 fish, none of them were legendary. Definitely still pretty good though. I changed my mind and decided to actually complete the quest after that, and pulled the rest of this extended family out of the water. Gotta earn Pierre's missing stock list somehow, even if I didn't get enough gems this day, but with another 200 grand in the bank that night, I'm happy with the outcome of it all. That kind of money meant I had enough funds to build the island obelisk on day 193. I shared some fish with the raccoons who gave me another star drop tea. I then delivered more fish to Emily who had a prize ticket for me, but it was just a single fairy dust, which I'm not sure I need anymore. My afternoon was for handing out gifts to the few friends who still needed work, then went for another evening moss walk now that we're only a few days away from it not being able to grow on most of the trees through winter. I started day 194 with more gifts, then ducked into the mines for the day for batwings and coal. I hopped on the trawler on day 195 to catch 360 fish off the coast of Ginger Island. Those 57 super cucumbers will be good enough for the smoker, but I got the loveliest surprise popping into the forest because I got the cutscene of the happy raccoon family. This is a scene I think I'm never gonna skip. Another moss harvest kept me busy all afternoon till the Spirits Eve festival, where I got even more steps in navigating the maze to claim another prize ticket. On day 196, I had some fish ponds to feed before swiping through the last crop harvest of the season with my iridium scythe. I wasn't sure if the desert trees would stop growing moss for the winter either, so I thought it best to comb through those as well as the rest of the trees in the valley, but annoyingly, I'm going to be ending the season just 13 moss short of crafting that statue. I then remembered I'd missed checking the forest today, but there wasn't a single moss-covered tree out there. Nothing I can do about that now, so I just came home to chop down any hay for the silo, then did what I do best in this timeline, and fished on the farm for the night. After my usual morning routine on day 197 of refilling crab pots and collecting fish roe, I trotted off to Ginger Island to accept the extended family quest again. I got my fishing gear together and gave Krobus a birthday gift, then began 2 whole days of fishing for the Legend 2 again. Still got millions to make before perfection, and I can't wait to age the roe from that fish too. What a find! I caught 6 of them this day, and passed out with 12 more the next day. Then, as with last time, the 3rd day of this quest began with a trawler trip with Murphy, in the hopes that just some of the 356 fish we brought in would be ocean legendaries. 99! 99 of them were! That is a wild day. It's going to be over 600 grand of smoked fish. We also got a weighted treasure tackle, which is the same as the treasure bobber, except it's unbreakable. I do test this out sometimes, but in the end it won't be a permanent fixture on my rod, because I have a better time catching fish with double trap bobbers. Like last time, I went round the other fishing spots to catch the remaining quest fish. As much as I'd have loved to rack up even more Legend 2s, I really needed the key gems, and annoyingly, completing this quest put me just 1 single key gem away from affording Pierre's missing stock list. But still, it's progress. Day 200 was spent in the volcano working on magma sprite kills. Kind of forgot my watering can though, so no treasure for me. But on a better note, I cleared the dig site on my way past so I could get the banana pudding recipe from the island trader. Before heading to bed, I wanted to rid the island farm of weeds when I got the last journal scrap I was looking for. So first thing on day 201, I dug up the last diggable walnut along with the ostrich egg. That also meant I had another walnut to trade for key gems so I could get my hands on Pierre's missing stock list. I thought I'd better bring it back to its rightful owner so I could get the rest of the seeds I needed. I was going to plant the garlic on Ginger Island, but I forgot I needed the flowers in seed form for the crafting recipe and kind of planted most of them. I realised just before the last one, and luckily Pierre was still open so I could rush back and buy them again. I made the tub of flowers straight away to avoid any more potential accidents, along with a handful of extras for the crafting achievement, but I am still missing a couple of recipes at this point. The rest of the evening was just tending to various machines on the farm. Then with day 202 being a Saturday, I went off for the Ginger Island trawler trip. It was 357 fish this time, and I thought that none of these will be exciting as having 99 legendaries in the net anymore, but you know what? I still felt great about having over 100 pufferfish today. I gave myself a break that afternoon and saw another movie with a dwarf. I'm so thankful the theatre's here to help with progress, since I didn't get the dwarf translation guide before their birthday. Now, my break was over, and when I got home, I started pulling ingredients from my chest to go in the fridge, using Look Up Anything to only grab as many as I need, so I could get started on cooking one of everything. Most of what I was missing after that were the fish dishes from the Fish of Stardew mod. And full disclosure, at this point, I think I've given up on the idea on catching the lunar salmon and the white sturgeon with my rod. Still, I was happy to have blasted through most of the cooking this night, but annoyingly, I didn't know that I needed extra green beans for one of those dishes, so I need to grow more of them to cook the bean hot pot soon. On day 203, I brought a gift to the dwarf with a final star drop tea to finish off that friendship. I gave away the extra one I had because this was my last friendship to fill, so I had no need for it anymore. I grabbed the next staircases from the desert trader and was delighted to see plenty of moss on the trees out here, and then headed on into Skull Caverns to work through some of the remaining Monster Slayer goals. I didn't hit any new ones today though, and I passed out on floor 107, mostly disappointed not to have found a prehistoric floor all day. Day 204 was the Festival of Ice, and once again, I proved to be the best fisher in town. Sorry, Willy. Then, on day 205, Mr. Key blessed me with the extended family quest for another week in a row. You know the drill by now. I passed out with 7 Legend 2s on this day. Day 206 was a Wednesday, so I went for the trawler shift first, getting another 20 Sons of Crimson Fish for the smoker, then went back to lake fishing for the rest of this day, and all of the next one. I don't need the key gems anymore, so it's about getting as many Legend 2s as possible, and over the course of the 3 days, I found 18 of them. That's quite a few fish to keep the smokers busy the next morning. Marcelo was in town today, so I brought a couple of spare books with me to trade in for some coal for those fish smokers, and a monster musk to help me with the Slayer goals. It was then over to the beach for some more fishing, because today was the start of Squid Fest. 4 in-game hours later, I caught enough squid for the day's Iridium target, and made away with the day's rewards. Then I warmed myself back up at the desert collecting more moss. I was also planning to hang out in the casino tonight, but I forgot I didn't yet have the club card. Acquiring it is going to take several steps, so I got started that night taking the battery to the bus tunnel, the rainbow shell to the train station, and the beets to Lewis's fridge. It was late by then, so I saved the Sand Dragon's last meal till breakfast on day 209. I had to move the coffee machine out of the way to dig out the club card at home, then wasted no time in showing it to the bouncer to gain entry. Bit unsettling that he vanished into thin air though. I bought 1000 key coins at the machine, then I rolled the slots over and over again to make a bigger and bigger number. Thanks to the fast animations mod, I haven't even sped this footage up either. Kinda satisfying really. I got lucky a couple of minutes later with a big win, giving me more than enough key coins to buy the alien rarecrow. Should be the last one to complete the collection, then spent most of the rest of the coins on farm totems as I was running low on them myself. I still had plenty of time in the day for more squid catches after that. I needed 10 today, but 8 squids later, I realised what day it was and remembered that Murphy would be waiting for me on Ginger Island. I managed to catch him before he goes away for the night, and got a much littler boost in income this time, with lots of these fish going into sashimi. I boated back to the valley to finish my last 2 squid catches and claim those prizes for the final time, and those mystery boxes got traded up to gold ones by the raccoons, with the rest of them I had saved. I asked Clint to open them all on day 210. I don't particularly need most of what's in here anymore, I just wanted to fix some mass loot, but the winner was actually the green bean starters, which I planted one of in the greenhouse with some hyperspeed grow for that cooking recipe. Checking my material supplies, I now had enough moss for the statue, except I was short on fibre now, so it was an afternoon in the mines for me farming for more. Once I had enough of it, I switched my focus into getting more coal instead. On day 211, I made the deluxe scarecrow which I got the recipe for that morning. Another craftable I was missing was the garlic oil, which I harvested some of the ingredients for on Ginger Island, then grabbed a top up on oil from Pierre in case I also wanted more crab cakes too. I rushed home to make the oil of garlic, but still, no achievement. Somehow this achievement manages to tie my brain in knots pretty often. Seems I was still missing quite a lot more cooked dishes too, aside from the ones with green beans, so I got those sorted. I double checked the collection tab as well, and the horror I felt when I saw I was also missing the fried mushrooms. Problem is, I had no morels, and they're now out of season. I then remembered I'd still not made that statue of blessings, so I got that done, and I was puzzled because it now showed I'd crafted everything I had the recipe for. At least I thought. Turns out I needed one more recipe from the island trader for the deluxe retaining soil, but I was one cinder shard short. Didn't take long to get what I needed from the volcano, and then that evening, still not a craft master? What is it? My brain was quite hurty at that point, so I stopped scouring the menus to set up the mushroom logs I had saved, just in case they might bless me with morels soon. I then headed off to the beach for some submarine fishing at the night market. Embarrassingly, I noticed a lot more missing craftables than I thought the following morning, though even then I still wasn't done. I was out by one entire house upgrade for the cask recipe. To occupy myself to the start of the night market, I chipped away at the magma sprite kills in the volcano, then ended my night in the exact same way as yesterday. On day 213, I brought more snacks to the raccoons in the hopes they'd help me out with an unshipped item, but I got mystery boxes instead. Looks like I'm gonna have to wait for my tea sapling to grow because I need both the tea leaves and the green tea as my final 2 items. I was hoping to spend the day in the trawler with Murphy before the last night at the market, but he took the day off, so instead I paid a visit to the wizard to get the last of the 4 obelisks on the farm. A couple more processing chores later, I returned to the beach and hung out with the desert trader till the submarine opened for a 3rd full night of fishing down there. On day 214, I sprayed myself with monster musk in the desert for the day ahead in Skull Caverns. I wasn't there long before I realised I forgot my staircases, and even though I wasn't after a deep dive today, I went home and grabbed them so I can have them for a quick getaway, just in case. Getting back to the caverns, I hit the serpent goal that afternoon, then used those staircases to skip through some more floors to hunt for pepperexes. Once again, I found no prehistoric floors all day, and with the amount I still had to kill, safe to say I'm gonna have to come back to Skull Caverns again another day. I passed out down there on floor 88 that night, having used almost all of my staircases. First thing day 215, I crafted the cask, only to find I still wasn't a craft master. What is going on with me in this achievement? After all of that, it was the thorn ring I was missing. Thank goodness that's over. I'd been resetting the mushroom logs every time I saw they weren't going to give me morels. I knew the rain could also speed them up, but it can't easily rain in the valley in winter, so I moved them over to Ginger Island, hopeful for a better result. I wanted to be over here anyway to hang out in the volcano with some monster musk, and today I completed the magma sprite monster slayer goal. I still had some time on the monster musk after that, so I made use of it in Skull Caverns back on the dino hunt, but I passed out again down there without adding a single count to the tally. On day 216, I took a break from the monster rampage in favour of some trawler fishing, bringing in 320 not so exciting fish. I then brought my geodes to Clint, looking for the last bits for the museum. I got a couple of new minerals to donate, but my last artifact I need to get a different way. It's the skeletal hand, so I looked for it amongst the bone nodes in the dig site. It wasn't there today. Then, as I passed the mushroom logs, I found out they wouldn't give me morels this time either. I moved them again, this time by the island farm, where there are a few extra trees around. On day 217, I was ready to get back to the pepperex grind. You have no idea the relief I felt when I saw a floor just crawling with them. Not enough to finish the Slayer goal, but a very necessary progress burst nonetheless. I got a couple more stragglers on my way through the floors, but the most notable things that happened today was accidentally finding a lucky ring in some crates, and getting an auto petter on a treasure floor that I don't particularly need. On day 218, I merged that lucky ring with my other iridium band, then put that mini forge into storage since I barely use it. I grabbed a few bat wings in the mines before doing a little checkup on the monster slayer goals. I was surprised not to have slayed enough skeletons yet, but other than that, it's just 15 pepperexes to go. It took some of the afternoon to be done with the skellies. Then I was just going to gather more coal and bat wings, but the nagging of that final goal got to me enough to dive back into Skull Caverns again. It was pointless though, the dinos were all in hiding that evening, so back I went first thing the next morning. I did thankfully find a dino floor which had 11 of the 15 that I needed, and with a few more lonely ones, I ended my day with just 1 pepperex away from completion. Just my luck that really. It was better news in the greenhouse on day 220. A green bean was waiting for me. I paired it up with the other one I had stored to cook the bean hot pot, and now just a morel stands in the way of the gourmet chef achievement. With all the recent time spent underground, I couldn't wait to get back on the trawler with Murphy. Chaotically patching up the boat away from all the monsters made me so very happy, even if the hundreds of fish we brought back were mostly going to be sashimi. We did find a new flag though, the worldly flag, which allows us to catch fish not usually in the ocean. I handed it to Murphy to fly on the Dawn Shard so we can give it a go on the next trip. I traded a couple of books with Marcelo for some Monster Slayer musk and wood, and all of that was enough of a break for me to want to get back into Skull Caverns. A couple of in-game hours later, I tracked down the final pepperex so I could be done with these stupid Monster Slayer goals once and for all. Well, in this timeline anyway. I stopped in at the Adventurers Guild to claim all the rewards I've been ignoring, and to confirm I was definitely done with them, and that meant I got a very peaceful night's sleep this Winter Star Eve. Day 221, my keg had a Winter Star gift for me in the form of a green tea for shipping. By the time I finished the morning farm routine, the festival had started in town. I had all the friendship points I needed by now, so I walked straight over to Sebastian to hand him his secret gift of a frozen tear. I'm done giving out sashimi, it's all mine. Sam was the one to bring me a gift this year. Not sure what I was expecting, but it wasn't a shell that he obviously just panic grabbed at the beach this morning. Before bed that night, I scraped up some more moss from the desert to craft some more treasure totems. I woke up to the full shipment achievement on day 222, then brought those treasure totems to the dig site on Ginger Island, but partway through clearing the place out, I remembered I can't dig up what I need here. I checked the key quest board before I left, only to find disappointment, and having a look at the perfection tracker with a couple of days to go, that number looks worse than it is. There's just a few things and a whole lot of money to go. Those treasure totems I saved to use at the beach instead, but digging up all the spots here, I didn't uncover the final artifact I was looking for. There is one more place I can try today. The haunted skulls in the quarry mine have a small chance of dropping it, and it looks like luck was on my side in here. I brought it straight into the museum to complete the collection, and ignored the rest of the rewards in here to claim my lunch of the next star drop. Don't worry, Fisher Emma, not fishing could be on the horizon soon. I was so tunnel visioned on that artifact, I forgot my entire home morning routine, so I got that sorted, fixed up some paths, then did some trident fishing to use up my energy to get a bit of extra cash. On day 223, I brought some magic bait to the secret woods to fish for the emerald jackfish. This was the final fish I needed to catch for the collection, and to become a master angler. What, do you think I was going to finish a whole second year without achieving this? I celebrated with Murphy on the trawler for a last boat trip for the year, and returned to Ginger Island with 150 fish. That's less than half as usual, but remember, we used the worldly flag this time, so I was excited to see what variety would be in the net. The blobfish were awesome, but the rest weren't really worth lowering the yield for quite this much. Nothing compares to the Jolly Roger to me. Aside from the morel that we're waiting for, my only goal now is money for the golden clock, so I added a load more crab pots to the farm. It was iron that I ran out of for crafting more, leaving plenty of wood left to repair the farm's fallen bridges again. I then emptied the lava eel pond. They were after a mineral I couldn't be bothered to look for, so I swapped it for the emerald jackfish. On day 224, the last day of the year, I got a beautiful letter from Willie.
Dear Emma, my beloved skipper, your angling skills surpass even my old puppies. I'm impressed. This star drop's been passed down from Willie Sr. to Willie Jr. for, probably 1,000 years. Seeing as we're married and all, I want you to have it, Willie.
I think it's fitting that this ended up being our final star drop, and on the last day of the year too. I did a bit of organising on the farm, adding a paved area for the smokers and recyclers. Even with half the recycling machines, I knew I'd get through more trash when set up with the hoppers. I was getting a bit lazy with this part, but this new area should help. I wanted my next project to be more fish tanks in the house, but Willie only came down here to fish, not to tend to the shop. This ruined my afternoon plans for this New Year's Eve, so instead, I decided to sort through my chests for some extra fish to smoke or ship, since I don't need to save most of these anymore. I then thought it a good idea to add even more paths to protect the area around my crab pots from the annoyance of the debris. Plus, pathing is just kind of therapeutic. This is also my chance to let you know that we're going to be carrying on this video into year 3. With the only thing I need being money really, I don't foresee it taking too long into the new year, and the days won't be so detailed anyway, since most of what we're going to be doing is fishing, and pretty much nothing but. I did get on the trawler every Wednesday and Saturday as well. Staying on the farm for the evening meant I could remain attentive with the smokers, so going to bed that night, we put in over 100 grand towards our goal. A bridge collapsing was so loud that it invaded my dream. A dream of Grandpa. He's been watching over us the past 2 years, and was proud to see the fisherwoman I'd become, so I stepped out the next morning into the crisp spring air to see 4 candles lit up at the altar. On day 225, I needed to build a new bridge to take a closer look at the altar, and pulled out a statue of perfection. I just grabbed this for fun, I don't really need the iridium. I planted some leftover seeds I had just for the looks, and tidied up the farm with the new season's debris, then began the ultimate grind. I did pretty much nothing but this over the coming days. So instead of telling you the same thing over and over again, I'll point out when things were a bit different. On day 226, the extended family quest was on offer again. I think you know by now how this goes too. 2 of the days were spent hoping for lots of Legend 2s, and the Wednesday I made sure to get on the trawler first, making sure to swap the flag back to the trusty Jolly Roger to maximise our catches again. There were 360 fish in the nets today, but sadly, no Sons of Crimson fish this time either. I was several hundred grand up by the time I was done smoking all the Legend 2s I caught. I feel like this made the legendless fishing days feel a little bit harder, because instead of the profit screen looking like this, they often look more like this. Sure, earlier game, this is great money, but when you're aiming for millions, it kinda hurts a little. I needed a little break by day 233, so I visited Willie in his shop to buy those fish tanks I wanted before, plus a top up on some trap bobbers. I returned to the house to refurnish the place into a big aquarium display, but I'll add all of their residents another day. I really had to get back to fishing. I mainly stay on the farm for all of this because the smokers are here, and there are radioactive sunfish when I'm lucky, but this may change later on. I wasn't even willing to give myself a break on the 13th when the Egg Festival was on, so that I didn't skip the trawler with Murphy. 362 is way too many fish to miss out on for a silly little egg hunt, and I wouldn't have found this angler's ring either. This adds 2 extra fishing levels. Clearly, I was meant to be here today. I hope you weren't worried that I forgot about the final cooking dish either. I'd been checking the secret woods periodically after having no luck with the mushroom logs, but I finally got my hands on a morel on day 238. I fried up those mushrooms and became a gourmet chef. Not my kind of breakfast though, so straight in the trash they went so I could get back on with my farm duties. Mr. Key wasn't helping with my fish for a second week in a row when I checked the board on day 239. I was desperate for a change of scenery at this point, so I tried to scoop up some lava eels in the mines with my trident. I only got trash, so I went back to the farm to rethink. Then I had a new idea. What about the Pirate's Cove? Most of the fish in here have a decent value, but the funniest part of using the trident here is that it didn't like the gourmand statue and turned them into error items. I've never seen this before, so I got a little giggle out of it. One single evening showed me that this new strategy was gonna work. Kinda gutted I didn't figure this out any earlier. Better late than never, I suppose. It took a lot of sashimi, but that's where I hung out going forward. Apart from the time spent on the trawler, of course, and on day 241, I got the surprise of my life. 90 grand's worth of reef sharks in the net, which will be over 250 grand as smoked sharks. This was the insane stroke of luck I really needed, but now I was running out of coal, so the rest of this day was back in the mines to slay dust sprites for more, working through my pile of sharks as I went along. I took day 243 off to set up the home aquariums. I mostly tried to group fish together similarly, but even with this many aquariums, I still had to pick and choose what would make the cut because I didn't have space for all of them. I crammed in what I could, and I think I'm happy with what I've done so far. With another 166 grand into the bank that night, we officially crossed the 5 million mark on day 244, halfway to the golden clock. I took my cash with me to the Shady Fellow on Ginger Island and paid 5 million in exchange for 10 perfection waivers worth 1% each. I couldn't see myself doing nothing but grind for another 5 million gold for the golden clock, given that it will literally just be me doing exactly the same thing, but longer. The perfection tracker showing as 90% plus 10 waivers isn't quite as satisfying, but I still woke up to those wonderful messages on day 245 that made the legacy of the Angler's Haven farm eternal. Willie somehow beat me all the way up to the summit. I joined him up there.
Hey, Emma. Great view, huh? I was just thinking about the last 3 years. We've been through a lot together, haven't we? But look how far we've come. Data/E, extra D, dialogue. Goose Summit Event Dialogue 3. Willie.
I can't believe that just happened to us yet again, but honestly, I don't think I'd have had this any other way. I think that was truly the pick-me-up I needed after that final grind. And what life is perfect anyway? We've done it. I reached perfection as a fisher in Stardew Valley. Do you know what? I was slowly actually becoming much more okay with fishing. Real me, I mean. Until I had to do nothing but that for weeks. I'm so glad I had the pleasure of doing this in Stardew 1.6 though. Even ignoring the mods, the extras this update added made all the difference in me being able to get here. And now, I can't see myself having been able to do this any other way. Even having reached the summit with just a shred of my sanity intact, overall I still had a great time with this. Let me know in the comments if you're an avid Stardew fisher. This farm definitely helped reinforce its value to me, but let's be real, I'm excited to get back into other types of farms where it's no longer the main event. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much to my channel members, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!